Powered by Riverside FM.
The work of Swiss artist Hans Ruji Giger has been the inspiration of nightmares for almost half a century. Best known for designing the titular creature of Ridley Scott's Alien, his airbrushed artwork explored the transhuman melding of flesh and machine, an art style dubbed biomechanical. They're worlds that toe the uncanny of being completely extraterrestrial and yet totally recognizable. Something we could and would want to step into, like our own dreams. One of many art projects led by HR in the late 90s was an attempt at bringing his unrealities into our world, with a series of Giga bars. In Gruyere, a former medieval chateau was renovated to incorporate his work, from spinal-like archways to pained faces carved in stonework. Where films only hinted at his world seeping into our own, the Giga Bar allowed you to fully step into these nightmares, and maybe order a few drinks while you were there. Perhaps it's no surprise that long after his death, another attempt to make the nightmares of Giga more accessible was put into production, although his artwork has adorned video games previously, either through adaptation of other works or genuine collaboration like the point-and-click adventure Darkseed. A true immersive experience set within the images of the Necronomicon had yet to manifest. At least until a promising Kickstarter appeared in 2013. Less than a decade later, that vision has finally come to fruition. The question is, did this nightmare keep us up all night, or should you consider packing a sleeping bag? On this episode of Bullet Time, we venture into unknown hells with Ebb Software's 2022 first-person adventure game, Scorn.
One of those games where it has a terrible reputation, and then you play it and you're like, well, it's not as bad as the reputation makes it seem, but then you just play it through and it's like, this is nothing. This is...
That's what happened to me in Dead Space 3 recently. I played it through with a friend of mine. Yeah, and like we went into it and we were like, you know, as long as it's like a 6 out of 10, it'll be fine. And we were playing it and we're like, this is a big dumb action game. We're having a good time. And then we were like, oh, this kind of sucks. It was kind of like petering out. And then we got to that part where you're like crashing on the planet and we were like, this is incredible. What the hell? And then it never picked up steam again. And we abandoned the game like by the end of it. We were like, this is awful. Truly atrocious.
Like, from what I understand, Dead Space 3 is one of those, like, it's like one of those movies they would do on like Best of the Worst, where it's like all the money was put in the first 10 minutes. Because that's all the distributor was ever going to watch. And then the rest of it is... It's like Masters of the Universe, where it's like the first 10 minutes is all the stuff that's on like Eternia. And then the rest of it is just like LA suburbs where nothing happens.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I've never seen that movie.
Masters of the Universe.
I think I'm okay
making a
not
new
seeing
He-Man.
that one. Sorry.
Yeah, I've heard that they're working on it. I know that they did a Netflix one not too long ago that...
Kevin Smith was the showrunner.
I always want to call him
Really?
Silent Bob, and it's like, well, that's not his name. That's like the most famous character he's ever played. But, like, you know, from the visionary director, Silent Bob is, yeah.
Oh, I should say,
of Chasing Amy.
I don't know if this will be relevant today, but yesterday, just as a heads up, my internet was acting like a motherfucker and blanking out every like couple minutes, but it hasn't happened in 12 hours. I think we're okay.
That's
but
good.
Just a heads up, that might happen.
Yeah, that's great.
We've had a little bit of podcasting issues with that. I was recording something with somebody earlier in the week, and towards the end, it kept ending out. And the annoying thing was, we were doing it during the quiz, and it was literally like it was dropping out every time we did a question. So we would back, do question. We would do number 5. It would drop out. We'd come back. We'd do number 6. It would drop out.
Oh my
God!
Like, what a nightmare!
It was like play by mail with the Bullet Time quiz. Which, by the way, hi folks at home. Welcome to Bullet Time, the video game podcast where we analyze the shooters that miss their marks. And we're back in the zone with the Necronomicon of video game literature himself, Kevin from Pixel.
Woo! I'm here, and I'm ready.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one.
I got thoughts.
We've got you kind of signed in for, this isn't like a proper mini series. This is like a fake mini. This is like a faux mini series in a weird way of a bunch of games that are kind of related by a particular, not like a developer or a publisher or anything like that. More by kind of a platform, which is super weird, which I guess we'll get into a little bit when we get there. But more importantly, joining us on the podcast, making his first appearance on Bullet Time, video maker and friend to all, Sputnik34. Hello.
Hello. I wish I had saved opening my monster for now, because I would have cracked it right there. That would have been a perfect intro.
So you should have bought two. You should have bought one for drinking and one for cracking.
Damn it.
God.
Yeah. You always have to have the backup when you're planning a little bit of ASMR. You gotta, because that can pop. The podcast fans, they love it. They love it, don't they, folks?
You should have a table of like I don't know whether you ever seen it, but like when we still have like quite a big culture of it in the UK, but for like doing radio shows, they'll have the actors in the booth doing like the live recording, but then they'll have a Foley artist like with just a bunch of stuff on a table. And so for like
really?
opening a door, they have like a little door that they like squeak on up. For like horse sounds and stuff like that, they'll just have like a little kind of sound pad. Like it'd be good. Like you could have that, but for like kind of like nice ASMR sounds. Like you just have something that always generates the sound of a big can of pop opening.
Yeah. You know, hold on. Is there anything that actually
just
could
generates the
recreate
sound
that
of a
noise?
pop can opening?
Yeah.
I'm looking.
We got it.
Oh, okay, that's good. All right, that's good enough. You should use that for when I make like a really good point during this episode. Just hit us with a round of applause.
I'm gonna keep that media tab right open and see what happens.
No, that sounds like a good plan. Spot, welcome. For people at home who might not know who you are, give us a brief rundown of what kind of videos you make and what sort of games you like.
I like a lot of games. I tend to lean into like survival horror and stuff like that, and Souls likes. But I'm also a really big roguelike fan. But the videos I make tend to be kind of like either very personal, like reflections on video games themselves, or game design. I'm not a game designer, but I do like game design.
You have done game design in Doom though. You have learned
Technically,
yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Those are not very good levels, though.
I mean, I'm sure Romero's first levels weren't that very good until he got to, E1, M1, and then, from there he was off and away, so...
I would like to pursue it eventually, do more of those kind of videos for sure, but the Doom video I made almost killed me. I almost lost it.
Oh, really?
I almost lost it, the whole video, 2 separate times. It was a nightmare.
Oh, jeez. God. Well, I was gonna say you are.
That would have been a bummer.
That would have been.
It would have broken my soul.
Yeah. That does make you nicely aligned though for the game that we're talking about today, which is kind of an FPS, a little bit like Doom, kind of a survival horror as well. The game that we're going into though is from the year 2022. That's another exciting thing about this episode as well. Usually we just do old games from like a decade ago. Oh no, not this one. This one came out nearly 2 years ago, which is really exciting. This came out 16 months ago. So this is still relevant news, and it means that, folks, people are still making bullet time tier games. We're never going to run out of them, which is...
We're never going to run out of bullet time level. Just miss that mark.
No, absolutely not.
Or miss the mark widely.
Yeah. So the name of the game that we're talking about today is Scorn, and I guess let's quickly get into it. So Kevin, what are your initial thoughts on Scorn?
Okay, so Scorn.
Scorn.
Uh-oh.
Oh, Scorn.
Scorn.
So I played Scorn when it first came out. and I was looking back in a Discord that we're in together, and I searched back when I started playing it again for this show, for this episode. I searched back to what I had said about it back then, and what I said was, the shooting sucks, and it has made me bored of H.R. Giger art.
Wow.
Oh my God.
So that was at the time of release, and now we're 2 years later, and I can say, while I appreciate the effort, I still do not like this game as a game. Now, let me clarify. This game would have been wildly successful in my eyes, not financially. God, not financially. But it would have been more successful in my eyes if it had been more like, have you ever heard of something, a game called Dagon?
Ooh, that sounds familiar. What is Dagon?
It's an HP Love. So Dagon is an HP Lovecraft story. And it was turned into an interactive walkthrough museum video game that kind of let you experience the story of Dagon. There's really not much interactivity, but you still went through and you felt the vibe and you saw the imagery and all that stuff. And it's kind of neat, right?
Sure.
I think Scorn could have worked on that level as more of like a tighter experience, and still kind of get the same vibe, because the two main interactive things about it are the puzzles and the shooting. And the puzzles are fine, and the shooting is terrible. And when you're hinging the interactivity on those 2 points, I think it can take something where the art where you have a lot of meaning. There's clearly a lot of meaning. I watched a lot of story dissections of this thing.
Sure.
There's a lot of meaning underneath the artwork. There's a story there. There's a lot of juice there, figuratively and literally. There's a lot of juice in this game.
There's a lot of juice in this game.
But then I think when you kind of staple on that kind of gameplay, it takes all the effort that you've put into one area and what you made in this other area, and ultimately it kind of averages them out in a not great way. So those are my initial thoughts on Scorn. I'm wide awake and I see the perfect sky is Scorn. You're a little late.
Thank you.
I'm already scored.
Thank you, Natalie and Brule, for that. We'll dig it. I guess we'll dig into those points as we go along the episode. Then we'll break them out and we'll unpackage.
I'm not going to be able to top that.
No, so obviously, survival horror person. So first things first, Spud, when did you play Scorn for the first time?
I think I played it the day it came out, and I think I beat it that day or the next day. I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's not a long game.
No, this is a nice short
when I beat
game.
When I beat it for this, I even forgot how short it was. Like I thought, like I got to the final section, and I was like, oh, there's like 2 more like parts, but it's like no, there's like 20 minutes, and it was like, oh my god, I got to the end, and I was like, this is it, damn.
and I guess at the time, like, what were your kind of initial thoughts about it? Like, were you pro Scorn, anti Scorn?
So it's kind of complicated. I played it on Game Pass, so I technically played it quote unquote for like free. If I had paid the price for this game, I would have been very upset, I think.
Oh yeah.
But because I played it free, I ended up walking away pretty positive about it. I liked the vibe. I'm a big vibe guy. I talk a lot about game design, and I am very analytical about game design, but if a game's vibes are good enough, I can look past some stuff. And even though that there were definitely parts on my first run through of the game that were incredibly frustrating, like the section with the mother, I guess you could call it, where you're like going and like popping over in your skin, and there's like all those like guys that are like walking there, and you need this, like, the shotgun for.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That part almost made me quit the game the first time. Despite that, I still walked away pretty positive about it. I don't dislike the shooting. It is very rough and it is very stiff and awkward, but I mean, I like survival horror games, so that's kind of just like my jam anyway. But yeah, I mean, okay. I like bummer endings. I love bummer endings. But there's something about this game's ending that feels cheap and not deserved or earned.
Nope.
You know, I really do appreciate everything that they were going for. I love like the subversion of expectation at the end. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to go do this crazy thing. And then it's like, no, you die. You don't even get to see what is about to happen. That as a concept is my jam. But like, it's like if Dark Souls was like teasing you with like a really cool thing at the end, and then it's like, no, sorry, you don't even get to see it. It's like, what? No, you didn't tell me anything this entire time. You got to give me something.
Yeah, it's like Dark Souls tells you the entire time, like, oh, you got to link the flame, you got to extinguish the flame, and then you get to the end, it's like, you don't even get to choose, buddy.
Yeah, you don't even get to the flame. It would be like if I forget what it's called, but like when you go down those like white ghost steps, it would be like if the game just killed you right there. And then you got
then it just turned into a slide and you just fell off. Yeah.
And it just, you know, and then
Miyazaki dances onto the screen and says, I got you. But I think despite all of that, my first impressions, because I played it for free, I did end up still liking the game. I liked the puzzles a lot, and I enjoyed the shooting, even though those little guys that spit blood at you are the worst.
Yeah.
They like fucking snipe you from, for some reason, they're totally accurate, but your gun has like a spread of like 20 feet.
Those enemies are probably the low point of the game for me.
Yeah.
I will break up my thoughts kind of as we go along the episode then, as I'll kind of like, because we'll kind of loop around to certain things that we chatted about. But I think the first thing that I want to get into is what you said, Sput, which is that, yeah, if you had paid full price for this game, which a lot of people did, and not only did they pay full price for this, because something that I totally forgot about Scorn when I floated the idea to Kevin was that this was a Kickstarter game and a pretty relatively famous in regards to games Kickstarters, but this was in development for like nearly a decade before it finally came out. And I remember when Scorn came out eventually back like 2 years ago, I thought, oh, didn't somebody already make an FPS like Giga game? Like, is this like somebody else's version of it? The game that I was thinking of was the initial pitch that they had done for Kickstarter back in 2014, and I was like, "Oh, okay." So this was in the oven for a while, and I'll go into kind of why that happened in a bit. But yeah, so money was put into Scorn, but then it kind of ended up as weirdly a perfect Game Pass game in regards to like, yeah, due to its length and due to the fact that it kind of has that Portal thing of, well, not as good as Portal, but like we have one big idea and we're gonna stretch it for as long as it needs to go. We're not gonna we can't make a Assassin's Creed style adventure based purely on a vibe, basically. Like that's not quite gonna happen, but we're gonna give it the time that it kind of needs. And I've found that Game Pass has been a really interesting platform for what. Because I think we kind of talked about this when we did the sort of Game of the Year conversation stuff of, rather than Game Pass kind of being like this sort of replacement for AAA stuff, it's kind of just been more of a extension of like XBLA stuff of, oh, we used to have all these like tiny games on the 360 and, you know, indie games have existed for a million years, but this is like a decent platform for these things to kind of exist like outside of a normal sales system
Yeah.
And Game Pass is now kind of the thing of, hey, for a la carte price, all you can eat pricing, you can play like a bunch of stuff like this, and the developers will get like, so we basically paid the developers a one-off fee that we could have this game on our platform. So
Right.
kind of the weird thing of this, like, not quite a mini series, but it's like looking at the quote unquote like sort of weird rise of Game Pass and how it's kind of given a second life to a lot of these not quite AA price, but sort of AA vibe shooters, which used to be like the bread and butter of stuff like Bullet Time. And it's kind of keeping them alive in a weird way. And so I guess to you, Kevin, like, how do you feel about Scorn as a game? Like, is it the same? I think we all kind of have the same feeling of, oh yeah, if we pay for this game, we would hate it. The fact that we didn't, there's no way that we can have like any kind of like genuine disappointment with it, because it's like,
sure. I mean, I think it is a perfect Game Pass game in that I just about dislike every element of the interactivity in it, as I've already said at length. But for those that can look past that, like Sput, and kind of want to live in a like, oh, what if like the xenomorph from Alien was pregnant with humans and landed on a planet, and then they built a society. What if we made a game about that? And you get Scorn. And I think that's kind of a neat thing to experience if you're on Game Pass and you're just like, hey, I want to play something weird. And because you were talking about Game Pass games and like, yeah, this is kind of like the Game Pass has kind of become the XBLA 2.0. You know what I mean? You can find things on it that are weird or different or what have you, or maybe weren't good, but maybe weren't good at release, but they've had some extra time to bake, and now you can play it for free on Game Pass. So yeah, I think Scorn as a Game Pass game fits perfectly on a thing like Game Pass.
I was gonna quickly pass the question back to you, Spud, but now after you mentioned that just did make me realize of this game of, because it's like a big factory or whatever. So like the big necropolis where this game is set, is it just like a big like city that people live in, or is it like a factory? Because if it's a factory, what do they make there?
People. So
okay, they just make people there.
Yeah, it is a factory, and the product is people.
Okay.
So okay, have either of you watched the story videos on Scorn?
No. So okay. So this will be news for me. So fill us in.
I started watching one last night, but then it was like 2:30, and I was like, I have to go to bed.
Yeah. Okay. So here I'll kind of like walk through what is going on in Scorn. Basically, is that and it's been a little bit since I watched one of these videos, so I might get some details wrong, but it's all fucking subjective, made up stuff that people are assuming.
Yeah.
There's no lore. There's nothing to read in the game, so it's like people are just guessing based on what they see.
Sure.
So basically, there's this rift, right? The rift that you see at the end of the game. That's kind of basically everything is built around this rift, and the idea that you can ascend to godhood if you have a vessel that is perfect enough to make it through this rift. So the idea of these people were that they were trying to produce something, a vessel that could join a hive mind and go through, because at the end of the game, your brain gets cut out, scooped, and joins a hive mind. So the idea is like it would elevate these people to godhood. So the idea is that there are two factories, right? There's factories creating new people,
right?
And there's like the people. There's also factory creating like basically servants or slaves. So there's like a slave grouping, and there's a sentient grouping. If you notice some of the differences between the quote unquote human-ish, like bodies that you'll see. One is like the upper level, and one is just the worker.
Right.
So, okay, this is where things get weird. Obviously, there's a lot of weird sexual energy going out throughout this game. As per Giger's art, you have the pregnant women statues, or actually, they're not women.
No, they're not. I mean, I was hoping to save this when we talk about the ending, but the fucking
So there's something to do in the game where there is, by the points they reach the rift and are building a city around it.
Right.
There are no more women, and so they have to do some genetic stuff so that the men can get pregnant and carry the next generations to term. But when they get pregnant, they don't actually give birth. They grow, they mutate and grow into statues. And then from that, they drop a tree seed pod thing. And then like 8 people are born.
So that's what the end of the game is? You become a thing that bursts 8 people?
No, well, the end of the game is you don't even get. No, that was the thing. The end of the game, you don't even get that far. But yeah, I guess that was the game plan.
The game is like you're trying to get into the rift so that you can elevate this entire species.
So
Did you know that there's 2 protagonists in the game?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah, okay. I didn't know this until I read it up after the fact. That was an interesting, but that was one of those things where I learned it. I was like, oh, that's cool, but that doesn't change the game enough to make it good for me. Like that's like having like a really bad sandwich, and then somebody tells you, "Oh, the guy who made that had a code," and it's like that doesn't make it better. Like I don't feel sorry. It's still a bad sandwich.
Yeah, why don't we just kind of like step through the game, and I'll fill in what I remember from these story things.
Sure.
Kind of.
Before we get into the game though, just to cap off the XBLA point, and I guess I will do it with a joke of, hey, they're not doing that in AAA games. Xbox Game Pass. That's where you can make games about becoming a dad who can give birth in a not a very good FPS game. But what's your kind of thought about like? Have there been like a bunch of like FPS stuff that you would have never played if it wasn't on Game Pass? I guess
specifically first-person shooter stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I know there is one game that we had kind of like had you in mind if potentially the series goes on, we may have you back, which is also a quote Game Pass heater. So
I off the top of my head I can't think of anything specifically apart from that game. I can't think of anything in particular. Let me look at my Game Pass games real quick if I have anything specifically that are first person shooters. No, I do not.
But just Game Pass in general, like it's just like you felt like you'd want to take more chances on just stuff that you wouldn't have played before, I guess.
I got that game Norco. Short Hike.
Norco's good.
A Short Hike is another one, and that Jusant game I don't think I would have normally spent the money on, but because it's on Game Pass, I said why not?
Yeah, Jusant was like one of my favorite games of last year, and again, it was like, I mean, the fact that it was on Game Pass just meant that I took a chance on it. I mean, I probably would have got it if enough people had said it was good, but then again, nobody might not have played it if it was didn't have like a decent entry price.
It's a great vibe game. For sure.
Oh yeah, the vibes are off the charts. Xbox Game Pass stuff is just perfect for like vibe games because it's like
absolutely.
It's kind of what you were saying about that Giga kind of like art experience game where it's like, well, you can't really like sell that at PC world, can you? With like a big sticker on it, which is, well, if you love Doom, then you'll love this game where you walk around a room and look at stuff. Which is a shame because I love like little digital art experience things. Oh, that's an interesting thing to mention with this game as well, actually. So all these games in this kind of loose-knit series that we're doing on Xbox Game Pass stuff, all Unreal Engine 4. And the reason that I was reminded of that, because there was the, when it was 20 years of Kid A, the Radiohead album, they did like a art exhibit with Epic. And the idea was that initially they had wanted to do that in real structure, but they couldn't because of COVID. So like they were like, well, could we do this digitally? And so like they worked with Epic and they basically put together something that if you were like in the real world, you could go to like a place and look around it. But then because it was a game, they could also have it like they could play around with reality and physics and kind of like impossible spaces in a way that you couldn't in the real world either. And I find that stuff like super neat and fascinating. And it is a shame that like, you know, you have to go to kind of itch.io and stuff like that to kind of sell those. But then Game Pass does kind of give you a chance as well of, hey, this is good, you know, if this is interesting enough and people will play it and they'll feel like this justifies my subscription, which I just usually use for Sea of Thieves. Like that is that like
the best part
like Game Pass
I get more with my Sea of Thieves subscription.
Well, it's what I always said about Netflix, which was it was my Better Call Saul subscription, and then anything else that I watched on top of it was just gravy. But
the benefit between XBLA or not, now you've got me saying that.
I keep doing the same thing. Yes, Game Pass. Game
Pass and itch.io is that Game Pass gives you the benefit of not having to worry about installing a virus on your computer.
That is true, yeah. And having to... Oh, God, I had that issue when... and I loved them to bits, but all the Sage demos that I played, I had to, like, go into my registry editor and add like windowed mode to all these kids like Unity games because they hadn't like figured out how to get that working in their own engine.
Oh shit!
Geez. I only had to do it with one game that I ended up talking about, but the rest of them weren't too bad. But yeah, that is the decent thing about Game Pass is that Phil Spencer looks at him and goes, "You haven't secretly put a virus in this, have you?" Okay,
I'm trusting you. One thing I just noticed when you were talking about the Kickstarter, so I was just looking around on the old.
Oh
internet,
yeah, go ahead.
There was a thing not long before the game released where the developers kind of had a very antagonistic post on the Kickstarter. They didn't provide updates for over a year. And people were kind of like, what's going on? And so they wrote this long post to be like, we're working on the game, blah, blah, blah. If you want a refund, just ask for a refund. And all the comments under that were like, yeah, I'll take a refund. And the next day,
oh no,
like the CEO had to write a response, be like, yeah, this is not what we think. Sorry, everybody.
I can't pronounce his first name, but something Pekle is his surname, and he was the CEO of Ebb Software, who we haven't mentioned the name of. This is the only game that they've made, and they literally put the studio together. Again, classic Kickstarter thing of just like, oh, Kickstarter's a brand new thing that I've never used before. Why don't we make games with it? And then on the one hand, you have like Tim Schafer being like, none of my games sell, but they're all really good. Why don't we take a chance on Kickstarter and see how we get on with that? Oh, this is the most money we've ever made, but because Kickstarter's weird, how revenue worked out is fucking weird. Let's go with Microsoft because that's the rivers and the lakes that we're used to. Versus like, you'll have like two 12-year-old boys being like, this will literally give us infinite money to make whatever game we want. And I'm not saying that the people who formed Ebb Software are 12-year-old boys, but they were very much on, oh, my idea is I want to make HR Giga the game, and that is what we're going to do. Now, we do keep saying HR Giga the game, but that's not exactly true, because there's also Gisław Paczewski the game. Who do either of you know about this guy?
I've never heard that name before.
He is a Polish painter who was basically known for doing similar Giga-style kind of dark sci-fi, but his thing in particular, where Giga was all about, like, you know, texture and kind of like murals and stuff like that, this guy's was all about landscapes, which is kind of the big thing in this game of like, oh, why is it all blown out desert landscapes? And
I do know this artist. I do know that. I do know who you're talking about.
He was big in the 60s, like basically from the 60s to the 80s, like his art kind of like went over the world of like, it had the same thing that Giga had of just like, we've never seen anything like this, but there is like this very, where Giga was kind of like psychosexual, this guy was more about transhumanism and kind of like death. Like this was the big thing that this guy was into, was kind of like how your body transforms after death and kind of the intermingling of stuff like that, which is basically, that's this game's. I would say this game isn't that much into like, you know, if it was like properly Giga, it'd be like, well, what's the factory? Oh, it's the penis factory. You'll go in, they make the penis, it goes from one end to the other, that's the penis factory. Giga would like walk you. Giga would be there dressed like Willy Wonka with a fucking orange top hat on, walking you through the penis factory. But no, it's not. It's the death factory. Sometimes you're alive, sometimes you're dead. But then when you're dead, you become alive again. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
It's all
sad
good.
Story with this guy though. He died. He died early, not from like kind of heart failure or anything. He got stabbed by like one of his art students who just turned up at his apartment one day. Yeah,
What?
no, really, really sick stuff. And then it became one of those things that like he became more popular after his death. And like Giga actually said, "I wish I could have met this guy while he was still alive because I thought that like all of his ideas, he had just a beautiful mind to him." But being a Polish artist and Ebb Software based in Siberia, a lot of crossover in there. And again, in 2013, they decided, let's put a Kickstarter together. Now, Kevin, did you know that the first Kickstarter they did for this game failed massively?
I think you told me about that.
Yeah, so they needed 170 grand to get this project off the ground, which fair enough. 3 members of staff for 6 months or whatever, 35 grand more, a year, blah blah blah. Kind of works out. They only raised 3 grand, so did not happen. But a month later, they took the project to a couple of different private finances and got the money that they needed from Humble Bundle. Or Humble Bundle. I can never say that name. I always want to say Humble Bundle, but that's not it. But yeah, the people who do, hey, do you want to buy like 15 books on coding for £2? Yeah, sure. Thanks, Humble Bundle. I'll do just that. That money went into...
I now have all these books on coding.
Yeah. The original plan was because they were only a small team, the game was going to be split in 2. Which is really funny to think about considering how short this game is. But the idea was we're going to sell the first part like in 1 year, and then 2 years later we'll sell the second part. But eventually they decided to go back to Kickstarter to raise the rest of the money that they needed, which was now 150,000 euros. And they did finally get what they needed.
I need to, not to interrupt you, I need to ask a question given what you've just said.
Sure.
Would you be happier if it was split into 2 parts, the exact same game, but each part was $15?
No.
Okay,
No. I would not. No, I wouldn't. I would not at all.
Scorn is still for sale for $40.
Oh, 40? Jesus Christ.
Oh,
40.
man.
14 bucks I would understand. 14 bucks is...
From the same publisher, which is Kepler. The publisher is Kepler, right?
Yes.
You can get On Guard for $20.
Now that's worth $20.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not an On Guard fan?
No, me? No, I played the demo. I liked it.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, no. I was just trying to. No, I was thinking like you can't compete with that. That's what that was.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. But yeah, the big selling point for Scorn was the cohesive, lived-in world. That was the big thing. They wanted it to be open-ended. They wanted everything to be interconnected. The original plan was a mix between Dark Souls' interconnected world and Metroid Prime. Didn't quite pull that off in the final product, is what I'm going to say with that.
I don't see that coming through whatsoever, unfortunately.
Hilarious that there's going to be another Game Pass game that we talk about that does do that, but I'm not going to reveal that quite yet.
No, exactly. We got to keep that one close to the chest because that's going to be our most explosive episode, as in it will probably explode the podcast. They had also planned to do a VR version of Scorn, but that never quite happened. This game, I would say though, would be pretty cool in VR, especially
Absolutely.
Yes.
because I mentioned that it was Unreal Engine 4. Now, did any of us have technical issues with this game? Because I would say for the most part, and my computer is pretty temperamental, even on medium settings, it ran solidly 60 frames per second and looks really, really good throughout.
Yeah, no, I was able to run it. I had like the AMD upscaling or whatever it's called, and I was able to get it max settings 144 frames, no problem.
Nice.
Yeah, it ran really well. I was very surprised.
This game runs like a dream, and I think that is partly down to games with very good art direction do just work. And, you know, as much as I have all my complaints loaded up on my notepad for this game, but one thing I won't complain about is that the art direction in this game is supremely good. They went out of their way. They wanted to make a game that looked like H.R. Giger stuff and Bachesky stuff, and I would say for the most part, yeah, they fucking nailed it.
Absolutely.
Kev, you said something in a chat log. I can't remember when, but it was around the time that we were playing this game, and I think it was the perfect way to summate this game, which is really good to look at, but like this was the absolute worst kind of platform for this art style. Oh no, specifically what you said was you can only go so far in making a game where the idea is it's a completely alien world, but eventually you need to give us some kind of human gamey style stuff to make it a bit more tangible.
So and it's something that I brought up in a Pixelate episode that I did with Jesse, where we were talking about a similar thing. In Dead Island, the book, it's just constant violence, right? It's just like constant zombie violence, and there's not much of a contrast there. I think one of the things that Scorn suffers from with its art style, because the art style is very specific and it's stunning, right?
Yes.
It is a stunning art style. It is meant to stun you, and when it's the only thing that you see, the effectiveness of this art style begins to wane. When you are you're like, all right, I am now in a lived-in world with this alien environment and art style and direction. While it is in terms of coolness, like you can appreciate how neat it's looking, but the oppressive dread that the art style is supposed to communicate, I feel, starts to come down a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know, it's funny because it's like, as you said, you live in this world, and the problem is that because you're seeing so much gnarliness, you just kind of get numb to it. Except there are bits in this game where it's weird because, I mean, I was going to talk about gameplay. I was going to talk kind of about like interface stuff, and I might bring that back in a sec. But the thing that I kind of found stupid is that for the most part, the tone of it is very kind of, I guess, demure, as in it's spooky, but it's not like trying to scare you. It feels like being in a haunted space, and you feel kind of uncomfortable with it, and it's a bit like of a strange place to be. But then occasionally it just has all I can call, like, because whenever these moments happen, all I did was basically like just stupidly say to myself, whoa, gross and epic. Because it's like, it just has like these stupid gross out moments, and there is literally one happens per act. And it's funny because I say per act because I did struggle a little bit with the beginning of this game. I have tried to play this game before, but didn't get very far in it. And I decided at one point, I'm just going to have a walkthrough open just to make sure that I know what I'm doing. And that was split into 5 specific acts. And I think the reason that they did that is because something stupidly gnarly happens at the end of each act. And it feels like in a lesser game, like a guitar solo, like a fucking electric guitar solo would come in and somebody would say, epic gnarly, like that. Epic. So gross. Yeah, like it's the sort of things that if you were a kid in the 90s, you would get your 12-year-old sister to come in the room and be like, yo, check this out. Oh my God, kind of thing. The thing I'm thinking of particularly is at the end, which all I will say is Krang's smoothies. So
I don't get that.
Oh, don't worry. When we get there, I will explain it in more detail. Kevin got it, though. He's a child of the 80s.
I know what it is.
You got it. You got it. One thing I do genuinely not like about this game, although I kind of go back and forth on it, I don't like the user interface or like any of the widgets and stuff. I get that they're going for Alien, but that should be only like in the 3D models and the kind of environments and stuff. If I'm being asked to interact with buttons, please tell me what fucking buttons they are. Don't have like, oh, it's a half circle. I don't know what the fuck. I don't have a half circle button on my controller, bud.
I guess I see where you're coming from. I will say though that like the half circle thing, like it shows up so frequently that like I don't know, it just kind of made sense after not that long. Yeah,
eventually it conditions you. I was thinking that was like my initial problem with it, and then when you unlock things, it doesn't really tell you what button. Well, it only gives you the tooltip once. Again, I think it's just because this game needed a little bit more polish in some places, but like healing yourself isn't explained.
No,
that well.
No, and there's often also, this is completely aside, not enough healing in the game.
No, I mean there's
like 3 refill things. I mean, that's part of the survival horror, but also there's like you can get kind of caught in a soft lock of like
yeah, potentially.
Well, I'm saved beyond the point of a healing thing. I don't have any health left, and there's like 30 monsters. And that's that. I think that's kind of one of the. It's not a true soft lock. It's just like it's there.
It can be rough. They give you like the just enough for each little section every single time. They never give you more than the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And I think it also sucks because at that point they introduce a mechanic which literally you just lose health at random intervals.
Yeah, that never killed me, but I can't begin to tell you the frustration if it did. I would have gotten.
Kev, set us up then. Let us go through Scorn, gut by gut, jib
rib
by
cage
jib.
by rib cage.
Yeah, rib by rib. Let's play it like a xylophone. So you begin with you're a guy in the desert. And like, oh, I need to get to the necropolis. I need to get to the tower. Don't know why.
Yeah.
And then you get inside, and then you start by doing a cart puzzle. But it's obviously a HR Giga cart, but it's a cart puzzle nonetheless.
We got Giga carts. We
Giga carts.
Cue the Mario Kart music.
So this is where when I first played this game when it came out 2 years ago, that I just gave up at this point because I was like, I don't really know what I'm meant to be doing here. This is nonsensical. The puzzle itself is you need to open a door. Fair enough. But you need 2 people to open a door. Well, you're only 1 person, so I just need to get a second person. How do I get the second person? Well, the way that you do that is that you go to the egg room. The egg room only has 1 active egg. How do you get the egg over? You do a sliding block puzzle. Okay, fair enough. I know that this is a game set in an alien world, but I've played many games with sliding block puzzles in them. That's fine. I feel like Giga would be fine with that. So you do that,
fine.
And then you put the egg in the cart, and then you take the cart away to do whatever you want with. Now, quick question: what did both of you do with the cart? Did you save the guy or did you kill the guy?
I scooped that little guy out as gorily as possible. He was not having a good time.
Yep.
That little crane just went right into his tender flesh.
The first time I played the game when it came out, I scooped the guy, and the second time I made sure that I saved him. But I actually wanted to mention this real quick. My first note is that this puzzle is cool. I love the fact that it gives you 2 options. And the way that you can find out that there is 2 options is through the achievements, really. But the fact that they give you 2 options is also kind of annoying, because if you're looking at it like as a script or like a designer, that's telling the player there are multiple ways to solve puzzles. But
it's on detail, yeah.
It's the only one. It's weird.
Yeah.
I find that very weird for that to be the first puzzle. In that sense,
it speaks to a mechanic which maybe that was the idea throughout the rest of the game, but maybe due to budget or time, they couldn't quite pull it off. But even then, like later on in the game, I have no idea how they would do that, because just because of what happens in the. I mean, they would have to add characters, I suppose. I mean, the only thing that you get a tease of that is at the end, where the handsome Squidwards are carrying you and bringing you to the. That's what those guys look. They look like handsome. They reminded me of handsome Squidward. So that's what I mentioned with that. But
so as you were talking about the opening, the one thing I'll mention is that there's at the very beginning, it's kind of intercutting between 2 things, right? So on the title screen, you got a guy who is like, he seems to be stuck in some wood.
He got eaten by the blob. By the blob from the film. The blob got him. Yeah.
He breaks free and he starts crawling forward, right?
Yes.
He breaks free, starts crawling forward, and then it's intercutting to, I guess what you could say is a flashback to something. And I'll explain why it's specifically a flashback as we go through it. But your dude's crawling and he falls down into the hole, and then there's the door. And then, as you said, Egg Dude, Dr. Eggman, and you open the door.
And then you go into another. You go into the egg and steam room is the only way that I can describe it. And this is, when I played this game the first time, I didn't get this. But this is where you get the first weapon of your game. Now, the thing that we very rarely do on a podcast about FPS games is talk about guns and gun feel. So let's start with this one. It's not even a gun, it's a jackhammer, and it's the most annoying one I've ever used in a video game, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of this because I played Pacific Drive, the demo for that at Next Fest, and that has exactly the same weapon in it that you use for exactly the same thing. Feels a million times better than the one in Scorn.
Yeah.
To describe for the folks at home, it's not like you hold a button to pull the hammer all the way back, and then you let it go, and then and you can do that twice before you have to wait a couple of seconds for it to recharge.
Yeah.
The game doesn't really give you any visual feedback that it has to recharge.
No. There's like a faint bar on the right hand side that can be that you don't notice until you have to recharge. You're like, oh.
Yeah, that is exactly what I did, even on the second time. I was just like, why isn't this? Oh, okay.
It's not great.
It's basically if you just imagine if in No Country for Old Men, Anton Chigurh had to use this thing.
Yeah, Anton Chigurh's like, okay, could you just sit there for 10 minutes?
Can you hold still? I need you to hold still. Where does he work? What's the most you've ever lost on a bet?
Could you give me a relatively long answer, just because this is going to suit me well?
Hold on. Scorn.
Oh, are you doing the? Are you?
Anton Chigurh would make it through the world with Scorn pretty easily. I feel like
so.
he would.
He would wake up in that world. He would wake up in that world and just smile. He'd be like, "This is my home.
I live here. This is nice." He'd be there with a vacuum cleaner, just cleaning stuff up. When you said Scorn, Spot, it reminded me of I told somebody tangentially related to the pod. I told him about Scorn. And all they did was the Germa bit when he played it on stream, and all he did was just put his face right to the mic and just went, so today I'm playing Scorn. And I'm going to see how far we get in Scorn.
That bit has ruined the game for me in a way, because I can't not hear that.
No, and I feel like that game, especially in the gnarly moments, it does make you want to just be like, Scorn. Like Kevin, 10,000%. Like back in the 90s, where they were doing when the SRB was invented because of all of the hearings that they did. Because this would have been alongside fucking Night Trap and Mortal Kombat in regards to. Well, I don't want little Timmy playing Scorn. Have you seen this?
No, you're gonna have Senator Joe Lieberman is up there. Doing the old droopy dog impression. Well, we're Scorn.
God, I'm imagining Lieberman complaining about it, but is he the one who pulled out the plastic Lethal Enforcer's gun and he was like, you can't sell this to kids, whatever it is. But I like the idea
I would be surprised.
I like the idea of them all complaining about these R-rated games being like, well, kids shouldn't play this because they're too fun. But when they get to Scorn, they were like, well, children shouldn't play this because it's not very good. We're only going to have
they had Night Trap up there.
Yeah. Oh, Night Trap's better than. Night Trap is just Dragon's Lair.
Hold on.
When you
Night Trap it's got something going. Night Trap knows what it is.
Hey, Night Trap has a song in it. No songs in Scorn. Scorn has a fucking. Scorn has a
wins on score alone.
on Scorn alone.
Scorn doesn't really have like a score. It has just atmosphere as like it's like the Eraserhead soundtrack kind of.
Yeah, it's like they went to Atticus Ross's house and just recorded his toilet. Like there's nothing's happening in Scorn.
You know what? All of this slander on the Scorn music. The entire time I was playing this, I was like, I would love to just have this OST. I think it's really good for what it is.
Well, you feel like you'd be like doing the dishes, and it's just like, oh, pump that up. Oh, that's a banger.
Yeah,
Yo, pass the aux chord. Oh, yeah, you better not be playing the Scorn soundtrack. So you get your jackhammer and you go through the egg room and the egg and steam room, and then you put the egg and steam tree together to open all the doors. But oh no, you do that and you fucking sand explodes all over you.
So sand. Who here thinks it's sand?
I never assumed it was sand.
What did you think it was?
I thought it was I thought it was like just like bile and like flesh juice.
Do you want to know what it is?
Sorry, yeah, I called it sand because you're trying to open the doors to the outside, and I don't massively remember bits of this game, so I thought that the sand rudder. No, you are right. It is like embiotic fluid. So
yes,
it is.
And that's why I assumed that's why he was cased in goo.
Mutagenic jizz.
Incredible.
Cool.
Is that why the character becomes
story videos all assume it's cum.
Cool.
I should have expected nothing less, to be
Only
honest.
on Game Pass, folks.
Only on Game
Far Cry 6, forget it.
You
Call of Duty, yawn.
Your character gets covered in it, and he can't get such a voluminous amount that he can't get up.
Yeah, so oh god.
Ugh.
And then you wake up in Act 2.
Hello.
Oh.
What's up? Okay, come here. Go lay down.
Oh my god. Just had a very heartwarming moment on the Bullet Time podcast there.
She is sick today.
Oh, that's
no.
Hug. Yeah. She had just gotten
Well,
better
hopefully you
too
don't
from a
get
cold. Yeah, it's likely. It's children, you know. They
Kids, am I
they
right?
bring everything home.
Just like they do just like they do in Scorn.
Just like they do in
How does this So in this next part, you're outside and you have to find the factory again. That's right. Okay, and then you find the factory, and then you go inside the factory. God, the problem is that a lot of this game just kind of blends together in my head.
Yeah, so you are a new dude. You are player 2 now.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Yes.
I didn't know this initially until I read the lore after the fact. But yeah, the way that it's presented in the game is just like, you got covered in blood, LOL. Go back in the adventure, you silly bastard. No, so now you are Guy 2.
Yep.
Am I wrong to assume that it's like hundreds, if not thousands of years later or something?
It is a long time later. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like you go through
there's no like weird. There's the stuff growing across that's not in the initial bit, right?
Yeah.
That's
No,
that's
it's
only
not. There's
after
no-
you wake up again.
Because that was kind of the plot as I understood it, is that basically you're a guy and you want to get into like the central nexus. Because basically this necropolis, ironically, is full of rot, and you don't want that. The rot is bad.
No.
You want to get in the middle because there's no rot. Also, my thought was, this is the same guy again and he can't die. So his vision is probably, well, if I get into the middle, I get to have a proper death, and that's what I want. I just want to. I absolutely hate this. I just want to get out of here, and death's the only way out.
I can't fucking wait to die.
Yeah, I just want to die, mate. I just want to be dead, mate.
That's all I've ever wanted.
Yeah, so all I wanted was just to die, which is what makes the ending kind of funny in a weird way. But kind of knowing that, yeah, he's a second guy sort of makes it a bit like, yeah, don't know about that. What happens in there before the parasite turns up? Can't remember. Oh, you make the stupid bead key, the pill key. Oh, I forgot about the fucking pill key.
Oh, the puzzle where you have to like adjust like the nodes or whatever.
You rotate the chambers, to make the special key. Yeah,
I really like that puzzle. I'm gonna go on a limb. I'm gonna go on a limb very early on and say I don't think there's a single bad puzzle in the game. I think they're all like really well thought out and like more difficult than the average big budget in quotes puzzle game would be.
I think they're all fine. There's only one puzzle in it that is like I'll skip to that, but I guess all I was just say is that I like the alien key because it's very alien feeling. The one I didn't like was the pill maze because I was like, I've done this in a million video games before. Where's the kind of Giga aspect of get the pearl out of the maze kind of thing?
I guess when you put it in that light, I'll give you that. I do think you're talking about the one where you have to like swap the screens, right? Yeah.
So there's 3 different mazes and the pill stays in the same place, but the maze like corridors change basically.
Right.
And you have to unlock the 3 different mazes in order to do it. And the mazes are inside Elephant Man. That you keep popping his boils and he's like, please stop doing that.
I felt so bad for that thing. I think my character deserved the fate he got by the time you do that bit with that thing.
Yeah.
In a sense, I was like, no, it's just
it has that
there.
kind of it kind of has that video game issue, and I wonder whether this might be too esoteric to put on the bullet time bingo sheet, but like sometimes you just do stuff and like as a player you don't really get why you're doing, but it is obviously progress. But like there's no kind of feedback in the game to say, oh yeah, what you did was correct. Like just fucking blowing up the big sad guy is just kind of like, oh, like does everyone, like if you work at the factory, does everyone do this every day? Like, hey Jim, go fuck up the big guy so we can clock off early. All right,
go blow up the big guy. Hey,
we need 12 liters of blood today. Go pop a boil.
Blood's down from last quarter.
He just stares at you while you kill him. Hey, it's fine.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like the fact that all he can do is stare at you, and I mean, I guess that's sad. Like that is like I mean, he reminded me not so much of Giga, but the big goo monster that everybody gets turned into at the end of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, where it literally can't do anything apart from just feel pain, which is not good.
Yeah.
You solve the pill.
I have no mouth and I must scream.
That's
quite literally.
Right.
Quite literally.
You solve the pill puzzle. Is the pill puzzle where they don't introduce any enemies yet. They're coming up. You solve the pill puzzle, and then you get got by...
You get got by the parasite, right?
By
parasite,
Catman. Yeah.
By the parasite who is... the dude that you were playing at the very beginning.
Oh my god, that's what you got mutated into a parasite.
Yeah, I didn't catch this the first time I played it, but like that explains why you get the same like jackhammer weapon.
You get the gun.
Yep.
You get the gun from his tail.
Yeah. There you go.
There it is.
So does that what you mutated into? Does that also explain what the rot is? That's like throughout the necropolis as well.
Yeah, so I think the mutagenic stuff that got released upon you trying to solve that puzzle,
just trying to get out
is what unleashes the next level. Because like the society has already collapsed, right? But
it's a dead world.
The mutagenic weird rot stuff hasn't happened yet. But now that this goo it has been released and kind of like flooded this corridor, everything that might get in contact with it there's just these mutations happening and creatures being created and all that stuff. So
it creates obstacles, basically. It's an obstacle creator.
Right.
It's not what you want, which is why you want to get to the
I didn't even think about that. Because the only enemy you encounter in that first part are like those things that are like expelling like gas or something, and those are like mechanical and like part of the factory. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, and they're not even like, they don't actively harm you. It's only like if you get steamed on, but that's just part of their natural rhythm. Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
There's no enemies until
there is the idea that this is probably not the only place that has happened.
Yes.
Which is how you explain the more developed weaponry you find as you go through the game.
Should we tap onto that now? Because I can't remember. So you solve the pill puzzle, and that lets you go further forward and takes you to what I consider the absolute worst part of this game, or at least the part that I hated the most, and all I will call it is the bathysphere factory. What does it make? It makes bathyspheres, like you're in Bioshock. That's how they get around. They just get around in big marbles, and you have to build one to get ahead.
Yeah. So it's going up and down. It's going and you gotta get 3 batteries, I guess, to stop it from moving.
Yeah,
something like that.
And then you have to build a new one.
Yeah. So you're on the 1 floor and you get a gun. You
get a pistol.
They're like, here you go, buddy. Have yourself a gun. And you're like, okay, go do crime.
So what does the pistol shoot? I couldn't figure this out.
Oh yeah, is there a lore thing about the bullets?
Yeah, you go and you get the bullets, and the bullets are like,
they're like little spiders or something.
They're like unrifled. It's basically like you're shooting. It's like 1776, and you're shooting.
Yeah, but they're also like little glowing grubs. It gave me a bit of a like a Stranger's Wrath kind of vibe. Oh, this is also when they give you the tomato spider. What do you use the tomato spider for?
You use the tomato juice to fill up your health.
Yeah, you use that to heal yourself, and it also holds your ammo. Now, when I played this on a controller, and I think it might have just been bugged out, the game did not tell me what any of this stuff did. Thank God I had a fucking walkthrough open, because it was like, oh yeah, you've just pressed the right shoulder button. Okay, cool, because the game didn't tell me that. The game showed me like a symbol of a middle finger, and it assumed that I knew that was the right cue. It gave me one of these, and it said, yeah, that's the right button, buzz.
I retract my statement that I said earlier about the UI being okay, because I fully agree, because there's a part later at the very end when you're swapping between the handsome Squidwards where it just says switch, and there's like a circle. And you're like, what the fuck is this button do I press?
Yeah, which button is... And it's X or something.
I retract my defense on the UI.
No, that's fine. I think early on it's okay. The problem is that, like, this is a game that... And I think my kind of thesis about this game, which maybe we'll say, I'll kind of keep to the end, but, like... Yeah, no, I'm gonna put that in my coat pocket, which I'm not even wearing. So,
yeah.
But yeah, so you get a pistol. Now... What's the shooting like in this game, Kevin?
Shooting is bad,
Drum roll.
and the developers should feel bad.
The shooting in this is dog shit, and in a way of, I know it's a survival horror, and I'm not saying that if you have a gun in a survival horror game, it should feel good. I always think of Cliff Bleszinski said this about Mirror's Edge, which was, it's a game made by DICE, but the guns feel like shit. And everyone dunked on him being like, yeah, but Kevin, that's what that Mirror's Edge isn't about that. You're meant to be running around. You're not meant to be using guns. But he makes an absolutely good point, which is like, you shouldn't make guns feel bad just to incentive. Like, it doesn't incentivize other gameplay. It just makes people annoyed. Oh, hey, you could blend the two things together. What if you had a gun, but you're also still running around or stuff like that? You should incentivize it from not having a lot of ammo, which this game already does. You don't get a lot of ammo, but then what it does do is that you have to wait for the reticule to kind of pull in a little bit like the Resident Evil 2 remake. And then when it's lined up, you take a shot. It takes 2 pistol shots to put down the small enemies in this game. Now, and between shots, you have to wait for it to reload. I am not a fan of how slow all this feels.
By the time your reticle focuses in, the little dude has already shot 5 times.
Oh yeah, the little dudes can just like fucking get shot. Yeah, they don't work to the same. They're not on the same delay as you. They can like riddle you with acid by the time that your thing is like just done that.
So at this point, I remember this is the point at which I dropped the game the first time when it came out. This specific point was getting the pistol and trying to do the shit, right? So. So story-wise, the pistols and all weapons you get from this point on are being developed because monsters had been appearing before the collapse of the society. So clearly at some point, the mutagenic, the ooze got out and monsters were happening. Like
it's the OSHA regulated gun. Every factory has.
You got to carry this. There's things crawling around now. So you got the pistols, the shotguns, and you got even the robot dudes at the end. The Krangs.
Let's save talking about the Krangs till we get there.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Krangs later. Yeah. But so. Yeah, at this point you get the pistol, and you know what's hilarious is because you mentioned it like it needs to. If it's gonna feel bad, it should prioritize some other method of gameplay.
Yes,
the method of gameplay it ultimately prioritized for me was not doing it and running and hoping for iframes on interactions, which it does. So I ran past, so after dying with the pistol in my hand like a dozen times, I'm like, fuck it. I grabbed the pistol, grabbed the thing, ran to the battery, and as I'm solving the puzzle, it's hilarious because all the enemies just stop.
Oh, do they just wait for you to solve the puzzle? Oh, that's very polite of them.
So I'm like, okay, grab, run back, put the thing in, and I just rinsed and repeat, like, I did use the guns sometimes from then on, but I would just like, I would rather just try to run through and die a few times figuring out where they were going to be rather than engage at all.
Wow.
The checkpoint isn't
that's wild. I okay, so like, look, the little guys aside, I think the combat is totally fine. I think it's completely in the right kind of like design space for what the game is trying to be. The little dudes aside, they are annoying, but like it's so weird. I didn't mind having to wait. It felt right. It felt realistic that your character would have to like be like, okay, hold on, give me a second. Okay, I got it. I'm going to shoot it. And what it incentivized for me was like cover. I was like, okay, well, the little guys are right there. I'm going to shoot. Prep another shot by go behind something, prep another shot, pull, come out the other side and shoot it again, and then I would be okay. Yeah. That's what it incentivized for me.
It's the classic FPS thing, which is just what I've learned playing so many games for bullet time, which is that as canny as you can make any AI, and I'm not saying that the AI in this is particularly canny, but every FPS game breaks the moment that you go, I'm just going to go create a kill zone, which is stand by a door which crushes like the amount of like space that you have to look into, wait for them to come to you, and then just blow them away.
But do a little hotgates, you know.
But okay, so wait, like on the other enemies, though, not the little guys, other enemies in the game. Did the combat still feel bad with those things?
No, the biggest dudes, the bull dudes, not at all. The bull dudes were like slow and they were bullet spongy, but you could deal with them because
they have like a very like obvious like charge up before they do their attack.
Yeah,
and you can get out of the way of it.
And by the time that they show up, they give you this like the shotgun. So like I think it's like 2 shotgun blasts. Yeah,
it's fine. Yeah,
I was gonna say
shotguns.
The moment you get the shotgun, I mean, the shotgun's okay. I mean, you don't get a ton of ammo for it, but it's a survival horror game. Of course, you're not going to get a ton of ammo for the shotgun. But by the end of the game, I had so much ammo for it anyways, it didn't really matter too much. It was like, yeah, I would say once the shotgun turns up, it's fine. But then that kind of becomes a different issue that I have with the kind of the combat in this game. But whatever. But yeah, I would say that my tier list for weapons are number 1, Shossi Suhati. Number 2, weapon that we can't talk about yet because we haven't got there. Number 3, pistol. Number 4, jackhammer. That would be my
Yeah, I think that's
yeah.
I think that's like an objective truth, really.
Yeah. Speaking of the
Shoddy
shotty
too hotty.
Yeah, so speaking of the shotty too hotty then, so you fix the bathysphere, you build a new one, you go through basically, it's kind of cute in that you go from room to room and you watch the bathysphere kind of get put together, and so it's like you're moving along the factory with it. Again, quite an inspired idea, and the fact that you build it alongside it, whatever. And that basically takes you to a door that then takes you underneath the ground, which is what takes you to the shambly man that I was talking about earlier, who doesn't have a mouth but must scream, who his guts are a funny pill puzzle. Fair enough. But yeah, that's where you get the shotgun. This was a bit of a difficult part because they give you a lot of like little walking guys early on, and it's like they don't give you a ton of cover. Like you basically just have to hope for it wherever you can get and just get some decent shots off. But
at this point, so prior to getting the shotgun is where I had stopped engaging in combat, and I was just like, I'm just gonna run.
Yeah.
And I managed to get through this entire area without firing a shot.
Interesting.
I was just like sprinting back and forth, and because they can only attack you if they're facing you, so it's just kind of like you can juke them out a little bit, which I guess in a way is very survival horror because I also don't engage in non-Resident Evil 4 inspired survival horror games. I tend not to engage. I tend to just be like, I'm going to save my ammo until the inevitable boss fight in which I need to use all my ammo.
Yeah, you learn how to juke all the enemies in normal survival horror games.
Yes.
That's like the... Yeah. I do want to say real quick is something that I noticed specifically in the bathysphere part is that not every section of the game, but the keys that you like progressively unlock, I feel like would have been a much better system, especially with given like the very puzzle centric nature of the game. I feel like it would have been a lot better if the world was more interconnected, and the fact that it was going to be at one point leads me to think that that's what the keys were there for originally, because you only ever really you only have essentially theoretically like walk forward, and like when you first see the keys, the door keys, you're like, oh man, I can't wait to come back and unlock a level 5. But you never go back and unlock a level 5. You only unlock a level 5 at the end of the game. You know what I mean?
When you have that level 5.
Yeah, exactly. And you never see a level 5 until the end of the game. And there's part of me that is fine with that, but there's a part of me that can't help but think that like the puzzles in this game are just roadblocks that you just walk through in a sense. You know what I mean? They're not really like I don't know. It feels like the interconnectivity would have benefited this game immensely.
Yeah. And it's funny, we forgot to mention the key. It's one of the things that you get when you get your first it's after the jackhammer, but before you get the pistol. It's like a detonator.
It's a detonator, or it looks like a cross between the radar thing from an Aliens movie, with the PKE meter from Ghostbusters,
and it has like a constellation on it, and that reflects like what level the door is,
what level of key you have.
And as you kind of go through, it's almost a bit system shocky, as in like, oh, you keep upgrading your keys, so now like not only can you open level 1 doors, but also level 2 doors, and then when you get a 3, you get to do all the other ones as well. And I wonder maybe that was just a vestigial element from when this was meant to be more kind of Metroid-y, like, oh hey, do you remember that room that you couldn't get into, which had a level 3 door? I think what would be the interesting challenge about that, though, is that, like, because so much of this game is very samey looking, like, would you remember? Like, oh yeah, there was a door with a 5 on it.
That's a valid point, and I wonder if that's why it ended up not being in the game. Because like I wonder if they got to a point where they're like, no one can find out where to go because it all is gore flesh walls. What do we do? Just make it one straight path.
God, I imagine the playtesting of this game must have been like hell. I wonder if the playtesting, the feedback they got from playtesting is partially why it took so long to come out. They were like, because I can only imagine like how hard it is to make the game as readable as it is now, even with the art design that they were going with.
Needed more yellow paint.
Oh God.
No, yellow bile. There's like a monster that makes yellow bile.
That would have actually made so much sense, though. Like in universe, that would have worked, I think.
Or even like, hey, it's Giga. So what's Giga known for? Like, oh, sorry, Giga and Boleshki. It's white. Oh, it's red for blood. It's white for calm. It's yellow for pus. Blue. Now that's a color that doesn't naturally occur in the world of Giga. Using blue paint.
Blue blood, blue paint.
Bumbo. Oh, yeah. And then they could have tied that in with the Squidwards at the end, who were like kind of royal, sort of guard guys.
The royal Squidwards.
The royal Squidwards.
I do want to make one more just shout out on the puzzles. The three layer puzzle that you have to solve to get to the end of the bathysphere section, where you have to like kind of like link those.
Oh yeah, with
nodes.
Yeah.
That it's a really difficult puzzle, at least for me, but that is a brilliant puzzle. That felt straight out of Myst, and the entire time, even though I was stuck on it for like 10 minutes, I was like, "This is awesome. This is a really good puzzle."
I can't remember what Resident Evil game it is, but it has a similar thing where it's like you only have one battery, and so you have to change it so like only one room's going to be lit and has power at a time, and that's kind of what that reminded me of.
It's how you like link the mansion and like the outside area. You can cheat to get to the wooden cabin area in the back where all the spiders are.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. No. Again, this game does have a lot of cool stuff in it. I think it's just one of those things that it's like, like if you drew it on a graph, it's just like a lot more plateaus and dips than it would be like. No. So you've solved the pill puzzle, you got the shotty, and that opens the Half-Life 1 train to go to the cool to go to the cool zone, basically. You've been
going to the cool zone, baby.
Yeah, you've been rummaging around in the gross zone, and now you're gonna go to the clean zone where all the Squidwards live. At this point, your parasite is like living inside your body. And we mentioned this earlier, but it's like it's a survival horror game where you have to manage your health, but just every sort of story, like these kind of happen at key points. Like I say, it's sort of random, like it feels random, but they are triggered at certain points. You just look down in your stomach, and it is gross, and you just see a guy like fucking ripping your guns out, and you just lose health, and it's like, oh, this
it's brutal.
This is great.
It's sick. And then you go to, so when you're in the health zone, it's like, okay, well, now that I'm here, hopefully I get healed up. But there's a part in the healing zone where just the parasite takes over so much that your hands turn into mittens. And you can't interact with anything.
It's amazing.
And you have to put your hands into these machines that they look gory. They rip all the mitten off of your hand, but it only lasts for a few seconds at a time. So the puzzle So the puzzle is basically like it's it's a really simple puzzle. It's like, do it in 5 seconds. Ho ho ho. And it's like, I'm not a massive fan of puzzles like that. Those are a bit lame, but whatever.
Timing-based puzzles are probably my least favorite kind of puzzle. They can be done well. Cocoon has some really good timing-based puzzles, for instance, but like, it's kind of rough. That part it's definitely a low point.
And it's like, you're not exactly sure. You don't know the layout of the place yet. So you're like, I'm running, and I'm like, oh, fuck, I made a wrong turn.
Yeah.
All right, well, back to the mitten ripper.
Yeah.
Until I find the right path, I guess.
Yeah. An easy fix, I think, would have been because the mitten ripper, let's just TM that, is at the start of like that section. So like you're incentivized. It's like, okay, well, this gets rid of the thing. I'm going to keep going. And you're like, oh, wait, no, I can't. It's back. If they had just put the mitten ripper specifically at the end of like, or like at a point where you would have explored more of it, that would have just been so much more, I don't know, what's the word, better.
It would have been a bit more satisfying that, like, if they hadn't teased it so early, because at that point, it just kind of pulls the ripcord off a little bit and not a good way.
Pulls the bark right off because it's very tree-ish.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, it's classic kind of like, it's human, it's biological, but it's also very alien, it's also very metallic.
It's plants,
not a lot of kind of like gunmetal looking stuff in this like most Giga stuff. But again, I think it's because they're also taking inspiration from Bileski as well. So should we talk about the weirdest boss fight that I've ever engaged with in a video game?
Before you do that, you reenact the scene from Dead Space 2.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh wait. Yeah, no, that's right. To get the I couldn't remember if parasite removal happened before or after the boss fight.
No, it's after the boss fight.
Is it after the boss fight?
Yeah,
it
is after the boss
because
fight.
By the time
the mittens.
Yeah, the mittens and the weapon you haven't gotten.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
okay.
you get the boss fight. So
okay.
Right.
Well, first. So you go into the zone and you find 2 handsome Squidwards, and the only way to activate them is you have to fill them full of raspberry jam. That's what it looks like. They just give you a big glass tube full of it. It goes, okay, but where do I get these from? Well, very obviously, you go into the room with a very obvious boss fountain in it because they give you
Star.
Yeah, they give you a full heal, they give you full pistol ammo, they give you full shotgun ammo, and it's like, wonder why they did this. Nothing to worry about. Basically, you just find like backpacks with Eric Cartman style fetuses in them. They're just little angry red guys. And again, this goes into my thing of you just do stuff in games and it's like, well, the character obviously knows what they're doing, but me as a player, like, I know this is progress, but this doesn't make any fucking sense. Yeah. You bring the baby backpacks back out of the room that you came to, you put them in the juicero, and the juicero turns them into raspberry jam. And again, this hadn't happened in a while, so this was just me being like, whoa, epic gnarly. Whoa.
Epic.
Exactly. Yo, Call of Duty wouldn't have you turning a fetus into jam. That's so frigging epic. Like,
you wouldn't jam a fetus.
Yeah, you wouldn't have done that in Night Trap.
Your great aunt Sally doesn't like Scorn.
Oh, they should have done the Dead Space 2 adverts where it's like your mom doesn't like Scorn, but it's just them playing it and it's like, I have no idea where I'm meant to be going.
Oh my god, it's a little baby!
It's a baby!
It's a little baby! Look at the baby!
God. But anyways, you do it with 2 fetuses, but the problem is that one of them is, it's not enough juice, so you can go, where's the other one? So you go inside the room that you came to, and you basically find a human body, which, this is the thing that you explained earlier, which is where they were using men as conduits to give birth. You find a Krang. You find Krang from Team NT, and he has a little guy. You find a little guy inside of him.
You jam the Krang into the Krang suit, and it fires up, and it gets it all juicy for you. And then you shoot the thing into you use your little jackhammer.
You use the jackhammer to open it up like a ripe melon.
Open it up. Kill the Krang now that he's been juicified, and then you take it back to the juicer and you throw him in the thing, and it's like
But it's not enough. You need to do that one more time, and you go, I wonder if this is the obvious setup for a boss fight. Oh my god, it is. You put it.
I don't believe this.
The Krang body that was on the thing fell off, and now there's a Krang body.
There's a fresh Krang
suit.
Yeah.
It's a fresh Krang, and it's got arms and legs and weapons, and you put that baby in there and you fired it up, and it's like and you're like, before you can do anything, it breaks free of its restraint.
Fucking 5 across the face and knocks you on the floor.
Gives you a fresh one right across the face.
And that's where
I feel so bad for our main character in this. He gets just beat to shit to hell and back 5 times over. I feel bad for him.
And this is where boss fight happens. In a game where it's all about atmosphere, puzzle solving, trying to find the way ahead in this necropolis. No, they put the fucking Wolfenstein 3D boss fight in it, and it's like, oh, these FPS mechanics aren't quite right for this. Oh, never mind. If I just used the shotgun, it worked. Doesn't matter anyways, because the way that you fight him is you have to let him get a couple of shots off, then take a breather that exposes big glowing weak points on their back, and then finally get some shots off. Again, good thing I was using a walkthrough, because all I would have done, I would have just kept getting up in his...
all my ammo.
I would have just got up in his business and not noticed the glowing weak points.
Yeah, I don't think this boss fight is like necessarily like terrible, but it's just it's just so much waiting. And like it's easy to avoid a lot of the projectiles he shoots, and you're just like and there's like things that are just like in the way that you can like hide behind.
Yeah, there's just cages.
Like bird cages,
But if you hide behind them, he stops shooting, so it just adds to more and more waiting, and it's pretty frustrating.
And if he hits them with a grenade, they crumble.
Oh,
Wait,
yeah, that's
what?
right. He can destroy them.
Yeah. He can destroy them.
Oh, that did not happen to me. Wow, that's crazy. I will say though, no, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, it's kind of the bad Zelda boss fight thing of if you're too far away, he does these kind of attacks. If you're this close, he does melee attacks. So you have to be in the Goldilocks zone that he does the specific attacks, which will cause him to get a stitch and have to breathe for a second. So,
I do want to shout out though the sound design of the boss fight. I love the way that the gun fires. It's like boom, boom, and then like the explosions are really muffled. It's like and then the explosions like. It's really cool. Yeah. I really, really, really like the sound design of the boss fight.
Yeah. The sound design in this game is genuinely pretty good. Like, the squelchiness is appropriately. Like, I think that half of what sells what spells the gross kind of gore in this game is mostly the sound design more than the visuals. And because it's not, because you're always seeing the visuals, but those kind of things, that bit of sound only really kicks in like during kind of cutscene stuff or kind of big fights like this. So, but no, you eventually beat the boss and you get his weapon. You're inspecting it, and oh no, Mitten Hand happens, and now that the weapon is fused to your hand, like you're the Scrog or the Strog from
your hamburger helper.
You've been strogified.
You've been strogified,
basically. Yeah.
But anyways, so you get the last bit of the baby juice, you put it in the Squidward, and then you have to like blow up generators or something. Basically, the puzzle is that like a big column's going up and down, and you have to look for the gap just right so you can put a grenade in it and blow it up.
It's just grenade puzzles.
Yeah.
I rescind by all the puzzles are good. This one's bad. Because when I was playing it last night, like I got to this part, and before I triggered the boss fight, because I didn't realize I needed to like stab the baby in the crane chest. So like in that boss room, there's like a platform you stand on, and it like lowers a door or something. And I spent like 10 minutes being like, what the fuck do I do with this? Like, what do I do? And then you get the grenade thing and you're like, I guess I use this for this? Because it's really weird.
It doesn't explain itself very well. Like, you have to stand on like pressure plates to open like a little window to then like, throw a grenade in.
For as bizarre as this game is, most of the puzzles explain themselves pretty well. That one doesn't.
Yeah, this is the only one that's not very...
With the grenade launcher, it's just like, I don't know, I guess I'll shoot it in this opening?
Yeah.
I guess.
Hey, I've seen Star Wars, it's a 2 meter by 2 meter square. That's fine. That's as big as a womp rat. I know what I'm doing.
What's hilarious, though, is while you're doing this and getting more baby juice... you basically start up the boss fight again.
But you just grenade launcher now. Yeah, you just rip it, you just blow it away. And it's like, I appreciate that was a good joke by the devs. I
appreciated that.
Yeah. So you juice up the handsome Squidwards, and that allows you to opens the way ahead, and then finally Dead Space 2 happens. Kevin, you want to explain?
Dead Space 2, the parasite away. You take the perspective of the operating thing, you rip it off. It's the parasite's like and then it breaks free of their strengths and it goes in a vent.
It runs away. It's not dead. Keep a note of that. It's not dead. It just runs away. But
I was so infuriated that your character just doesn't shoot it instantly. Like, how do you not just shoot that thing?
Yeah.
Or just like shut the door so it can't get out. I mean, it's the most obvious thing. Well, I mean, in hindsight, it's the most obvious thing in the world, but it's like, whatever. But you're not doing very well.
I thought the thing taking it off was gonna kill the parasite.
Well, I was thinking it's like
it off.
I thought it was going to be the end of Resident Evil 4, where like a big laser just burns it, and that'd be that.
Yeah.
Like I figured that's where. Oh, this is the parasite room. This is where all the handsome Squidwards get the parasites removed whenever they go and visit the poor people.
It's funny.
Yeah.
If I had a quarter for every time a survival horror game had a parasite removal scene, I would have 3
2
quarters,
courses.
which isn't a lot. But it's weird. It's happened 3 times.
Yeah. But then it gives you a forced walking section because your guts have been ripped the fuck out, and you walk, and you basically walk to you log into the very on the nose Jesus statue where there's a guy who's crucified, and you just get up into his arms, and you're like, all right, plug me in. And that's when they put the colander helmet on you, and now you can control 2 handsome characters.
Well, yeah, the doctor, the robot doctor comes by and he's like, here we go. And the robot doctor's like, I got a blade. I'm gonna Ray Liotta you right here. I'm gonna
the robot doctor just has a knife, and it's just a stupid like knife that's just like cutting your shoulder. It's like, what is this for? Why did you invent this thing?
I know that this is an audio podcast, but I want to just show you guys the face that even on my second time through that I was making during that part.
Yeah, that was me. I was just like,
it was that part genuinely like upset me. I was like, oh no.
Like, we're gonna plug into your brain and we're gonna throw that up to the ceiling.
No, it wasn't even the plugging into the brain that was the worst part. It's just the fact that the robot,
stabbing.
Everyone's just really fucking cruel. See, like this robot is just like, hey, stab, and it's like, what does this like? It's like, like doctors before the Victorian age, where it was like, oh, well, the reason you're ill is because you have a little devil inside you, so please drink this hot wax to get it out. Like, a lot of just old-fashioned doctor stuff was just unnecessary cruelty, and it's
buddy, you got too much blood. You got too much blood in there. We got to reduce the amount of blood, increase the amount of bile. We got to figure your humors. Your humors are all out of balance.
Your humors are out of they're out of whack. God. But anyways, you control 2 handsome guys then, and one of them just picks you up and is carrying you around like a big handsome man, and I was like, this is nice.
But not before taking the doctor's arm and putting
it on
just
his own shoulder. On his shoulder, and it's like,
so that you can
so you can
continue to be stabbed.
I remember, I was like, even for this game, this is like obscene. Like,
so stupid.
But like, okay, so remember when I said that I started watching like a lore thing, but then I had to go to bed? I did. Right. I got to a part where someone was like, they're stabbing you so you don't die or you don't pass out.
So that was my theory. Yeah. Was that basically
so you
like
stay awake?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it keeps you conscious because you're constantly feeling pain. I mean, granted, that guy must just be in excruciating pain non-stop. Like, imagine if this they invented a kind of force feedback for controllers, which was just imagine if your controller was just non-stop vibrating through this entire path.
Imagine this game on DualSense.
Oh God.
Scorn, the first game that actually stabs you while playing it DualSense.
Yeah, there's just like little needles that just come out of the controller, and it's like, I'm not enjoying this. This sucks.
This is not fun.
I'm not enjoying this. So the final image of the game, the final thing that you do in the game is like the game began. You just open a big door, and the puzzle is, well, how do you open a door with 2 guys? Well, one of them does the controls, and the other one stands on a big button. Boom.
Full
End
circle.
of the game.
If you save the dude, it's full circle.
Yeah. Literally begins with opening doors, ends with opening a door. And you see the big old rift. I assumed again, like, finally your guy can die, and this is like this game's version of heaven is like, this is the only place that you can die. But nope. Fuck you. The parasite comes back. It is the most I can't even say it's it's a shock ending. It's just an annoying ending. It basically says, oh, hey, you know that thing that you did 10 minutes ago? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, it isn't like an ironic twist ending. It's just a stupid ending. It's just, we're just going to do the same thing again.
It feels like a slap in the face a little bit, and I want to make it very clear that slap in the face endings are great in my opinion. Like,
yeah, sure.
You know the game Jump King? You know Jump King? No. Okay, so it's like I'll make this really quick. It's a really difficult like jump platformer game where you have to get like it's one of those like you'll never beat it because it's so hard games. It's kind of like getting over it.
It's like you want I want to be the guy.
Yeah, sure. Kind of. But like the whole premise of the game is that you're a knight and there's a smoking hot babe at the top of this castle and you want to get the smoking hot babe. And you get to the top of the castle and you get the smoking hot babe. I am so annoyed that game does not end with the babe just being a skeleton and then it cuts to credits. That would like I am all for like slap in the face endings, but this one just it something is off about it. It feels like cheap or like cruel to the player in a way that doesn't feel earned.
Yeah,
and I don't know why.
Right.
Like Kevin, I'd be interested in hearing what your version of this is. I think like the ultimate slap in the face ending for me, games wise, is like BioShock Infinite, but it's in a way different to the one that you described, where it's like, or even like Scorn is an annoying ending because it's just kind of like, oh, you know that thing that you were working towards to create progress, yeah. That didn't actually do anything. That maybe saved you like a minute of extra gameplay. It's like, cool, dude. Oh, it's like somebody said this about Modern Warfare 2, where it's like when you do the no Russian level, you can die at any time and it resets you, but then that mission ends with you dying, and it's like,
oh yeah, it's like what was
that's
the
kind
point?
of like this in a weird way.
I think that might just be it. It's like you made no progress. Nothing mattered.
No. But
and
BioShock Infinite
it feels. I don't know. Yeah.
BioShock Infinite is the most shocking one because it's literally an ending that says, not only do we have a bad ending, but we're actually all video games that ever existed, so they all have bad video endings as well. And it's like,
yeah.
Fuck
no,
yeah.
I think when it came out, I think probably the most slap in the face ending, saying when it came out, was Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah. That is not ending. Fair enough.
So it's like you find out that the guy that you're playing, Raiden, first of all, the fact that you're not playing as Snake, it was like an immediate bummer in that game, right? You're playing as Raiden, but then you find out that like the whole thing is just
Solid Snake simulation.
It's just like a war game simulation that you're being put through to make the next Solid Snake. And it's just like,
wow.
Okay, so none of this actually mattered.
But you know what's even worse is that people accepted that and went, oh, it was interesting. It was like meta-narrative. It was about, he changed through the simulation. But then MGS4 came along and said, oh, no, actually that happened, or it didn't happen, but it didn't matter because it kind of happened. Because like they used the game to basically explain, well, how is there a guy that's a vampire? Or it's a simulation, like it's breaking down. Okay. Oh, but this guy is actually a vampire in real life as well. How? Oh, well, he has little robots in him that makes him like, he basically made him Dracula.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so coming off of Metal Gear Solid, you're like, all right, going forward, this series is going to be about Solid Snake figuring out this grand conspiracy, right?
Nope.
Right?
Nope. Here's an adventure with his dad. He's James Bond.
It's like here's Metal Gear Solid 2. Here's a guy who's training to be Solid Snake. Okay. Metal Gear Solid 3. Here's a guy. Here's a set in the past.
He's his dad.
It's his dad's thing. Hates Metal Gear Solid 4. Here's the guy that's not Solid Snake again.
No, he is, but he's just really old. He got old.
He's just really old. Yeah, true.
He got old.
Metal Gear Solid 5. And then Metal Gear Solid 5. Here's Kiefer Sutherland.
They should have put
It's just like this is why I like some of his ideas, but that fucking guy is just like, I have a really great idea. I am not going to follow through on anything I do in the next one because I'm an artist or something. I don't know. It's just like, man, sometimes the best thing you can do is continue the story that you were already telling. Sometimes Anyway, those are my thoughts on the Metal Gear series.
So is your hope that in Scorn 2 they pick up where they left off and the entire game is just you're a tree and you can't do anything?
It's what's
it's a
funny?
tower defense game.
Ooh, yeah, it's an RTS and you play as goo.
It's Plants vs. Zombies.
And you're a literal plant. You can't, and just the squidwards are coming at you.
So, but yeah, because the game ends with the parasite just jumping on you and turning you into a tree.
Oh yeah, the parasite just manages to fully envelop you. That thing that it wasn't able to do the rest of the game. Oh, it just manages to do that now.
And now you're a tree with a big old face on it. So here's something that's really funny. Okay, you know the bits at the beginning. You know the bit at the beginning where the opening title scene where you see a dude and he's stuck in branches like
is it is it cyclical? So the end of the game is the beginning of the game.
The end of the game, and then years and years passed, and then the parasite, who has now become fully healed from the mutation that he went through by merging with you, breaks free from the tree and continues crawling forward.
Wait,
how does
that? You're seeing at the beginning.
Wait,
at the beginning of the game.
So him escaping into the desert is the
ending of the timeline.
Huh.
So the end of the timeline is the dude at the very beginning who is breaking free from the tree, and it's cutting in between, and it cuts to the guy escaping into the desert.
Yeah.
So that's him remembering his earliest memory on this journey.
Okay.
You're basically, the entire thing is memories of the one character, because he absorbs the memories of protagonist 2 after he merges with him, and then he wakes up thousands of years later from his little tree and starts climbing forward, and he remembers how he got there, and it cuts back to him crawling through the desert, and he falls through the hole, he gets covered in the gunk, protagonist 2 comes, he merges with protagonist 2. So basically,
so you're playing
at the
memories.
very beginning of the game, we see that, yes,
it's a flash
one
forward.
of them, it's a flash forward. One of them gets out of the tree and crawls forward. Because the guy you're playing with doesn't have a nose. The guy that you're playing with in the beginning does.
Yes.
Oh.
I'm not gonna lie, that kind of makes the ending better. Now I feel better about the ending now.
I mean, I think it's
yeah, I would like it better if that was like a little bit more obvious without having someone needing to sit there and explain that to me.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, the mean thing that I have in the chamber is like, this game is really interesting, but I despise playing it. Like, this would have been better.
That's fair, I guess.
Yeah, like having somebody explain it to me was more fun than actually like, hiding around the corner. Oh, I'm dead again. Oh, wait, back to the checkpoint.
Okay, wait. Is the studio making another game?
So I had a look up. I have not seen anything new from Ebb. Like, this was the big game that they worked on for so many years. I mean, if that's the case, I mean, I don't know how long another game would be in the can for. I also don't know how well I mean, they were a small team, but this was in development for so many years. So, like, this easily could have been in the millions in regards to, like, production costs.
Well,
and, like,
theoretically, they got a decent chunk of money from Xbox to put it on Game Pass.
And Humble and Kickstarter, yeah.
Yeah.
So
and their publisher, I assume, probably
and the
kicked in
publisher
some.
as well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know that the two of you aren't the biggest fans of this game, but as someone that enjoyed it, I think just for the studio themselves, I want the game to do well. I hope that this didn't like crash the studio, because there's so much promise in all of the ideas in the game. I think that they deserve a second chance to refine it and make it way better.
No, I think this is a bit of a legendary situation where not only is the guest a lot hotter on this than kind of me or you were, Kevin, but also, like, there is definitely talent there. And I think, like, everybody kind of deserves a second game in regards to, but the first one is what you learn on. What you figure out what you're good at, you figure out what you're not good at. And again, like, if we were to, like, dissect this and go, okay, what worked, what didn't, art style, top notch. Aesthetics, top notch. Not only that, but even it was kind of confusing in a lot of places, but for the most part, the way ahead was relatively easy to figure out. Some puzzles were a bit puzzles either kind of went in one way, where they were either dead simple, adventure game style. Okay, here's the sliding block puzzle. Okay, here's the thing, but stuff that you've done a million times before, or they were kind of this is a bit too alien for the likes of me. I don't quite get it. Sound design top notch, and the plot really interesting. It was just mostly the shooting and the gameplay side of it that I didn't particularly love, which is what brings me to the finally taking it out of my pocket from earlier. My thing with this game is that, and again, this is Bullet Time, the FPS podcast. Either this game needed to be more of an FPS, or it needed to have absolutely no shooting in it whatsoever. And part of me leans on it should have not been. It should have had 0 FPS elements in it, and it should have just been Myst.
I think as a Myst clone, it would. If it was just straight up Myst, it would have worked better. For me, for my tastes.
But obviously, that's us talking about a hypothetical game, which hypothetical games are always going to be better in your head than what actually exists.
Well, what's funny is that there is on the Scorn subreddit, one of the first posts that came up was people looking for a no combat mod.
Oh, wow.
So there is obviously the want from people that, hey,
yeah,
could we not? And I wonder whether that's partially a thing of they had to go to Kickstarter to raise the money. They went to Humble and said, here's the potential. And it's on Game Pass. There's always the stockholder guy who gives you the money who says, yeah, but this is only really going to sell if this is something people recognize. And when you go all in on the alien aesthetic, you kind of need to have the taste of something that people are going to be used to. And hey, first-person game. First-person shooter versus something like Portal, which is a first-person shooter, but it's not you don't kill anyone in it.
Yeah,
I think something that could have. Yeah, I think something it could have also used as a touchstone, at least for the first 75% of the game. That game would be Alien Isolation, which is a lot. Which is a survival horror first-person shooter where combat is, until the very end of the game, you're mostly avoiding it. You know, you're not really trying to get in combat, but there are enemies that are there that will kill you. So I think if it was maybe a little bit more hide and seeky, like an isolation, I think I might have.
Yeah, less corridors and more open spaces, I think.
Less corridors, more open spaces, or just I gotta hop through a slimy vent now, you know?
I don't mind the balance that they tried to go for, and but at the same time, I do think that if I had to pick more shooting or more puzzles, I definitely think you have to just do more puzzles. Just keep the atmosphere all up. Go all atmosphere if you're gonna try to pick a lane, for sure.
It's funny. When I began, before we even did this episode, after playing it, I think I was a lot meaner on this, and I think as we've talked about it, I've softened a lot in regards to I think that this was a first project by a studio, even with all the time that they spent on it. It's a concept that doesn't really. It works really well for a puzzle game, but there would have had to been a lot of work done in regards to finding the right balance between challenge and kind of inclusion, basically.
Yeah, totally.
Which, if you're a first-time studio, you're never going to figure that out. But if they had another chance at this idea, I think they probably could have. Not that I would say that, oh, you're the Giga guys now, so this is all you do from now on. Let them do whatever they want to do next, but this is it's an interesting game to learn from, I think.
100%.
Yeah,
and just on the art direction alone, I want to see what they can pull off, whether it be a sequel or a completely different thing entirely.
Yeah.
The art, we've said before, but the art direction that this studio is capable of is unreal.
Unreal Engine, one would say. I mean, I do think of. There's stuff. There's stuff in this game that I think of like, and I think it's the moment that you get off the train when you go into the kind of the cleaner necropolis. But you just walk down a corridor and there are like huge shafts of light which have like dust dancing in them, and I go,
yeah,
I've seen that in games, but I've never noticed it before. And this is like so well, like the atmosphere in here is just spot on.
And that is
one of the games
that's
at
beautiful.
its best.
Yeah,
it is so good. But
I've never seen a game be more disgusting and beautiful at the same time. Silent Hill wishes it was as beautiful as this game is.
Yeah.
Ooh, hey.
We got any final
Silent Hill? You hear that, Bloober team?
Hey, Bloober, get Bloober on the phone right now. God.
If Bloober team could give its transfer its success over its mostly unwarranted success over to another company, it would be Ebb.
Yeah. Spot doesn't want to hear it. He's covered his headphones, which hasn't actually helped. You can actually just see.
We won't get into
Bloob's
the
an
Bloober
interesting
discussion.
one,
I
just
just have
literally-
faith.
Yeah, Bloob is such a weird developer because like every game they've made has literally been like a pitch to Konami of please, for the love of God, just let us
Yeah.
Silent Hill
And-
2.
Here's the
And
thing. I like Observer. I do like Observer.
Observer's good.
I mean,
Rutger Hauer.
it's got my man. It's got Rutger Hauer in it.
Odo with a shotgun.
It's Rutger Hauer back in a Blade Runner-ish situation. So I can't complain about that.
And I will say real quick, speaking of Bloober, right fast, the only studio I could think of that can match Ebb, right, is Bloober in art direction. Bloober's art direction is unreal.
Yeah,
Everything that they've shown for the Silent Hill 2 remake is just beautiful.
Right.
Let's
wait.
just hope the game itself is good. Do we have any final thoughts on Scorn before we move on to the quiz? I mean, my main thing is just like, yeah, perfect Game Pass game in regards to if you had spent money on it, I think you'd be disappointed. But the fact that you kind of, the buy-in on Game Pass is like, hey, try something you may have never done before. Yeah, you kind of better appreciate the fact that it is fantastic art direction, really interesting world. Sure, the gameplay doesn't kind of stick the landing, but it's like,
Right. Yeah. I'd say my final thoughts are I'm hard on the game, but I also was not as hard on the game as I feel like I would have been right after I stopped playing.
yes.
So like in between playing it and this episode, I thought on it more and I softened and a lot of my thoughts went more into like they put a lot of effort in the art direction. The story is there. Like you can actually once it's kind of explained to you, it's there and it's kind of neat conceptually. But yeah, I still have my misgivings about the general interactivity. The general gameplay of the game is not necessarily on my favorite side.
Sure.
Absolutely fair. And Spot, what about you? Any
I
closing
feel
thoughts?
like I was the Scorn defender here, but even I will admit that like there's a lot that isn't great about the game. But I think overall there's enough good that outweighs a lot of what the issues that I do have with it.
Yeah.
I think it's
Sure.
the perfect, like, to quote Michael Huber, swimming in sevens. It's a perfect 7 out of 10 game.
Yeah. it is a perfect bullet time game in that regard where, yeah, it very much like punches above its weight in regards to like the visual side of stuff and the world building.
Yeah.
But
And
just, yeah.
I respect the hell out of everything it was going for. I even though I don't like the ending, I feel like the ending is cheap. I respect what they were trying to do for sure.
Yeah. I very much agree with all points said. And that brings us to the end of talking about Scorn. And I'm really, really happy about that because it means that we went through this entire discussion about Scorn without mentioning Darkseid or Darkseid 2. Which I feel like everybody at home would have been like, oh, they're talking about a Giga game. When are they going to talk about Darkseid?
I actually only found out about Darkseid, or was talked to about Darkseid like 3 days ago. Funnily enough, just completely off topic. Scorn was not part of the conversation.
Well, there we go. Darkseid is only a game.
Did Chariot bring it up?
No, it was a friend of mine. Different
Chariot,
friend of mine.
I don't think is quite into Darkseid is the thing. I mean, Kevin, you know, but because UK, I mean, that game was probably a heavy hitter when you were playing PC games. So
yeah.
My friend that brought up Darkseid, they were like, it looks really cool, but it is a trash game.
The second one is like, the first one's okay, it's just kind of clunky, but the second one is like pure trash. It's fabulous.
You can get it on My Abandonware, by the way.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Funny story
you can get it on
about
GOG
this
as well.
Oh, probably. Funny story about the second one. I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently my friend told me that they had permission from Giger and his state to use his like assets or his art style for the first one. And apparently in the second one, they just did it even though they didn't have the rights to it.
Yeah,
is
they
that
just
true?
assumed they had them.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's really good.
Like, yeah, it's fine. We'll just do it again, you know? Don't ask.
My favorite one is that, so in the first game you play as a guy called Mike Dawson, and he is based, his look and like voice is based on one of the developers at Cyber Dreams that worked there. And then in the second one he had left the company, so they just hired somebody else to play Mike Dawson. And in the first game he's like a Stephen King type kind of, you know, smart writer, but in the second one they hired like a teenage boy, and so he's going to like Giga One and it's like, this place is icky, I hate it. Ew. Yo, they should have put they could have put him in
That would be amazing if your main character was just talking like that during the entire time of Scorn.
It's a fetus. I don't like it.
I gotta squish you the fetus.
My hands are turned into mint. Yeah, you just like it's a 90s Adam Sandler cat. Yo, they should have got the Sandman in the vocal booth for that one. God. And then you just have people who is like, there's only good 3 Adam Sandler performances: Punch Drunk Love, Uncut Gems, Scorn. Those are the 3. So Scorn came out October 14th, 2022. Now, for this chart game, unfortunately, our good friends at VG Charts no longer exist, and they stopped tracking the charts after 2018. So we don't have any current ones, but fortunately, our good friends at gamesindustry.biz did, but they only did it for the month, rather than the week that it came out. So I will be asking you questions about the month of October 2022 and the top 10 related to it. Now, does anybody want to take a guess where Scorn came in on the charts?
In the top 10?
In the top 10, yeah.
I'm going to stick with the 7 trend and say number 7.
Okay. What about you, Kevin?
I'm going to say top 10 all PC sales.
No, all formats.
All games.
All games. I'm going to say not in the top 10.
Kevin, you're absolutely right. It did not break the top 10. October 2022. Probably because of the fact that it went to
this was a trick question.
I believe industry.biz is only brick and mortar as well. I'm not sure if it takes digital sales into account, and Game Pass doesn't even factor into digital sales. It's so confusing. But there are 10 games on the charts, and this is really exciting because this is a recent chart. This is usually we're like, was it Tomb Raider? Was it Gran Turismo? No, these are all games that are still being bought and being played.
I cannot say Wii Sports.
You can't. Wii Sports will not help you anymore. Although there is a Nintendo game that might help you. Just,
okay.
But either way, so fingers at the ready. Not that there's any buzzers. You just say what your answers are. But number 1 in the charts. Don't know how many weeks it's been in there, but it came out in October 2022.
Oh, Jesus.
First person shooter.
October 2022.
Correct.
First person shooter.
Yes.
Well,
oh my God.
I'm going to say it's going to be a Call of Duty.
It certainly is, but which one?
Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
The remake?
It is,
Modern
but
Warfare
which
1?
one?
The first one? No, the second, Modern Warfare 2. Remake?
Sputnik. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 from Activision.
That was way harder than I thought it would have been.
At number 1 in the charts. Number 2 in the charts from EA is a sports game.
Madden?
In October?
In October, yeah.
Oh,
Madden
that would be
2023.
that would be FIFA, I think.
Sputnik's got it. It is.
Oh my God,
FIFA
incredible.
2023. Yeah, because Madden and FIFA do kind of come out around the same time.
Madden releases in like August.
Yeah. And then FIFA's a little bit later in the year to line up with the start of FA Cup.
Yeah.
Number 3 in the charts. If I give you the developer, it's going to give it away. If I give you the publisher, it'll give it away. But it is a game that is still, I believe, in the charts. And at this point, it has been in the charts for 9 years.
Grand Theft Auto 5.
Sputnik's got it. It is GTA V.
Shit.
Developed by Rockstar North and published by Rockstar and Take-Two. Now, number 4 in the charts is a fun one, and it's one that it made me smile when I saw it. Published by Warner Brothers. It is a live service game.
Is it the Smash clone? I can't remember what it's called. Oh, God.
I'll help you out. It is not Multiverses.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It'd be very funny if it was.
Warner Brothers live service game.
Oh, The Avengers?
You're close with the Avengers, except Warner Brothers don't make those games.
Oh, that's right.
Marvel.
Oh, my God.
What are you thinking?
The trailer for Suicide Squad?
Number 4 on the chart, Suicide Squad's trailer. No, but again, Suicide Squad really close with your answer.
Oh, why can't I think of this?
Oh, was it? Gotham Knights?
Kevin's got it.
That's
Number
it.
4 on the
Yeah,
charts. It
there we
is Gotham Knights by Warner Brothers Montreal and published by Warner Brothers. A game that's really
I forgot
funny
that game existed.
Yep. The only reason I know about that game, I bought it, but it's really funny because I did a D&D campaign which was set in Gotham City and it was literally called Gotham Knights. So it was very funny
nice.
for us when that
That's
game was coming
hilarious.
out. And we were like, oh, are all our characters going to appear? They did.
Didn't you say that playing Suicide Squad made you appreciate Gotham Knights?
Oh Jesus, yeah.
More.
So I'll quickly run through this, but like Gotham Knights is kind of, I mean, it's a boring grinder game, but the thing that's fun about it is the fact that it does play kind of like the old Arkham games, and everybody's abilities are a lot more sort of unique. But like you do classic, there's like combat rooms, you do like puzzle rooms and stuff like that. Suicide Squad, literally all you do is shoot. It's literally just horde mode. It is so boring. So. And their version of Gotham's way more interesting in Gotham Knights versus the Metropolis and Suicide Squad. So, here, folks. Suicide Squad makes Gotham Knights look like Arkham Knight. So,
Damn.
not good.
That is the most savage burn I think I've heard towards Suicide Squad.
So, number 5 in the charts is a game developed by Ubisoft. But it's a strategy game, if you can believe such a thing.
A strategy game.
Turn-based or real-time?
Turn-based.
Oh my God,
Mario vs. Rabbids 2.
I can give you that. Do you also want to take a guess at what the subtitle might be?
Oh, no.
more rabbits.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, I'll give it to you, Kevin. So number 5 on the charts, Mario plus Rabbids rather than versus, Sparks of Hope, because they go to space.
There we go.
And there's sparks and stuff.
Are those games good? I feel like they are. I've not played them.
First one's really good. I haven't played the second one yet, but I've only heard good things. So
Yeah, I haven't played the second one, but it's like, hey, it's Mario XCOM.
I mean, literally,
love
like if
XCOM,
I said it was a strategy game, but if I was like, it's a Ubisoft game, it's XCOM. Oh, it's the Mario Rabbids one, right? Yeah, that's right.
It's Ubisoft made a Mario XCOM game.
Number 6 on the charts is a sequel game. It's a number 2, if you can believe such a thing. It's an open world game.
You said it's a number 2. It's like the second.
It's
sequel?
a number
It's the
2.
first
It's
sequel?
a sequel,
Okay.
yes.
It's an open
A
world game.
sequel open world game.
Yeah.
Oh no, that came out earlier. I was gonna say the second Horizon game, but that came out in like February.
Yep.
It's not God of War Ragnarok, is it?
It's not. I will give you this clue as well. It's in the 2022 charts, but this game originally came out in 2018, so it's been in the charts for 4 years, which is pretty
wow. Oh, that spices everything up. Okay, hold on.
Uh-huh. And it's a sequel to a game that came out in 2018, so 8 years before.
Oh my god. It's not Breath of the Wild, is it?
It's not Breath of the Wild and it's not Tears of the Kingdom. Think of your open world games. Think who makes open world games.
Oh, Assassin's Creed Valhalla?
It is not Assassin's Creed Valhalla, unfortunately.
Is it Watch Dogs
What was
2?
the Egypt one?
It's not Watch
not
Dogs
Watch
2,
Dogs 2.
unfortunately.
Oh, you said it came out in 2018. Oh,
This was a game of 2018. This was up for a bunch of game awards and the like.
I am drawing a complete blank. I'm not a super big open world person, so
That's fine. I will try and think of some other clues that could make it a little bit easier. It was made in a studio in San Diego. I can't tell you what the name is because it would give it away immediately. It's set in a period of history as well. Not an Assassin's Creed game though, but it is set in a particular time period.
oh,
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Kevin's got it. It is Red Dead Redemption 2 by
that's so.
San
You know what I
Diego
was
and-
gonna say? This is embarrassing now that I know what the answer is. I was gonna say Far Cry Primal.
I mean, that is set in a time period. That is very true. You can't argue against that. In the most time period, one would say. Right. Number 7 in the charts. A third-person shooter.
Control.
Not Control.
I forget when Control came out. It might have been 2019, I think.
2020, I think. It was whatever year Resident Evil 2.
Control.
Lose Control. 2019. Yeah, it came out in 2019 because it was the same year as Luigi's Mansion in the RE2
Right.
remake.
This is
Third-person
a
shooter.
This is a third-person shooter, and I'll give you a funny clue. This is by a developer and publisher that you would not expect to be associated with third-person shooters. And yet, this is the third in a series, so it must be doing pretty well for itself.
Is it?
When I say third-person shooter as well, don't think open world. This is purely arena-based. I think you're trying to pull inspiration.
Face off.
I want to take his face off.
Oh my god.
I got
Okay.
nothing.
I got
Okay, I'm going to give you another clue, but this is probably going to make it a lot easier. This is a third-person shooter for kids.
That made it harder.
Oh. Splatoon 2.
No.
Oh,
Splatoon 2 is a sequel.
Splatoon 2.
Splatoon 2 is a sequel.
Oh.
The third one.
There's a third Splatoon game?
Yeah.
It came out in 2022, yeah.
Okay, so Splatoon 3.
It is Splatoon 3 developed internally at Nintendo and published by Nintendo, a company that you wouldn't think made third-person shooters, and yet they make one that got to number 3. So, it's a pretty popular game.
Hot diggity.
Hot diggity dang.
Hot diggity.
Number 8 on the charts is another sports game, but it's not Madden and it's not FIFA, so it's one of the other ones.
NHL 2020?
Not NHL, but you're close to the end.
NBA 2K23.
Got it. It is.
I literally forgot basketball was a sport.
I forgot people played basketball. Yeah, from 2K Games, it is NBA 2K23. Now, here's a fucking surprising one for being in the charts, because this is a genre and a developer or a publisher that I think would never make all formats, but there we go. Number 9 on the charts, it is a grand-ass strategy game for the PC.
Civ 6.
Not Civ 6, but you're on the right lines. In fact, I might make this easy because I don't think it will give you the answer, but it will help narrow it down. It's developed and published by Paradox.
Oh, wow.
They make hundreds of fucking strategy games. So good luck trying to figure out which one.
Yeah.
Is it
what's it?
Dune Spice Wars?
It's not Dune Spice Wars.
Okay.
No, I think I know what it is. I'm just trying to remember is it Crusader Kings 3?
No, but it is a free. It's not Crusader Kings, though. I think that came out a few years beforehand.
Oh, is it Age of Empires 3 Remastered or something?
Not Age of Empires.
Oh.
That is a Microsoft game.
Oh.
Stellaris doesn't have any sequels.
No, and I'll give you this clue as well. It is based in another period. It's based on a famous period of history. It's not a sci-fi or a fantasy game.
Far Cry Primal.
It is. Number 9 on the charts from Ubisoft.
Wii Sports Resort.
Wii Sports Resort is back, baby.
It's back, baby.
Baby.
Oh, Total Warhammer 3.
Oh, no, it's not Total Warhammer, unfortunately.
I got nothing then.
Okay, I will give you some more clues. It is a series named after a famous monarch in British history.
Oh, God.
I mean, I'm assuming it's something like Victorian, which is...
What was the Victorian? Who was the Victorian era named after?
Victorian Queen Victoria Simulator Part 3.
I'll give it to you. It is number 9. So number 9 on the chart is Victoria Free. That is literally what it is
That's
called.
literally the name of it? I've never heard of
Victoria
this game.
Free. My favorite robot. My robot made Victoria Free. Developed and published by Paradox. It is a grand strategy game set in Victorian England.
I just can't imagine Paradox making a game that goes in the top 10.
No, neither can I. I am genuinely shocked that is in the top 10. Even if it's for the month of October, I am genuinely shocked by that.
Paradox making these like spreadsheet simulators, like,
and people are just like, oh boy, I can't wait to finish Friday early so I can play Victoria Free all week.
so I can, and you're just staring at windows with numbers. And I'm just like, what are you playing? And you're like, well, I'm adjusting the tax base.
Your wife is like, honey, please just come to bed. It's 3 a.m. And it's like, you don't understand. I'm trying to get my research level up.
I need 7 wool. Just 7 wool.
You have like the boys over like it's the Super Bowl and there's like bowls of crisps and stuff, but they're all just on their laptops doing fucking spreadsheets.
Yo, Victoria 3 LAN party, let's go.
Let's go, baby. I'm gonna raise an heir.
Yo, gonna crack a can to that one. Yo, I just cured smallpox.
I've only ever watched people play Paradox games like briefly because I'm just like, I can't. Like Civ 6, Civilization is the max my brain goes for strategy for these grand strategy games.
Like XCOM is as big as my brain can go for any kind of strategy games. Like Rabbids is as big as I can go. Like that's my version of grand strategy.
I can get it going for Rabbids, you know.
Yeah. Right. And then number 10 on the charts. Here's a fun one. It's an easy one as well. This game, so this is October 2022. This game has been in the charts since 2014, so 8 years at this point. So this has been on here for a long time, and I believe it is still on the charts as well.
Oh, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Sputnik's got it. Number 10 in the charts. Developed and published by Nintendo. It is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
I said it, but I got cut off, I think, by my thing.
Oh, you can both have points then, I guess. Oh, no.
I was like, Mario Kart 8, and there was no response. I was like, oh no, is it? And then I get like a little spinning thing for a second, and then I come back and I hear Spud saying Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and I'm like, fuck.
Damn it. How am I gonna? I'm gonna have to edit that somehow in the final episode, but we'll figure something out.
Well, it's funny is because if it's still recording on my side, the recording will see me saying Mario Kart 8 first. And no reaction.
Let's just call it a draw.
Yeah, I'll say you drew. The entire thing, I'll just say you drew. Yeah. But that is it. That is the end of the quiz, which brings us to the end of this episode of Bullet Time. So, Sput, thank you so much for being here to talk to us about Scorn, to make a very good defense for this game as well. Me and Kev were being big haters, but I think the game is around to being slight haters, but very respectful of what the game did. And so, is there anything you would like to plug? Anything you would like people to look at?
This morning I put out my 5,000 subscriber Q&A special. I put out all the answers and stuff. If you want to go check that out, have a good time. I put a lot of work into it. And Great. I'm currently working on my next mainline video, which hopefully will be done by the end of the month. Stick around for that. It's about an album. Never done one of those before.
I think I know which album it is. I'm very excited to see it. Can people follow you on social media or anything like that?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. I think I must have accidentally typed my name in wrong when I made my account. It's Sputnik34. I accidentally added a 5 somehow, which is a bit of a problem, but whatever. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, which I'm thinking about deleting, but follow me while you can, I guess. And follow me mainly on YouTube, please. You can follow me on Twitter too. It's fine. And Blue Sky.
Oh yeah, Blue Sky. We need to be pushing Blue Sky.
I'm trying to keep it alive, but I always forget it exists.
I mean, we have got a Blue Sky power user here of Kevin. Thank you very much for coming back for co-hosting duties for this, and it will be nice to have you back for some other Game Pass heaters. But so, where can people find you, and anything you would like to promote?
Y'all can find me on Blue Sky, pixelitpod.com, at pixelitpod.com on Blue Sky, or kevin.pixelit.com, pixelitpod.com on Blue Sky. Either work. You can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/pixelitpod, or you can just go to wherever you have a podcast feed and just search in Pixelit Pod and you'll find us, baby. You'll find us. Find us right there.
Any recent episodes you've done that you'd recommend people check out?
I would recommend, coming off of this, I would recommend you listen to the episodes on Mario and the incredible whatever journey or something.
I thought you were going to recommend something horror related, but you were like, no, I'll just recommend the episode James was on.
I'll bring on the episode that James is on. Listen to that. But we also have a current. By the time this comes out, it'll probably have been a little bit. Go listen to the stuff that Jesse was on for Dead Island if you want to hear us rage about a really terrible book. Just check us out. We got a lot of fun stuff on there. A lot of good series. We're gonna hit 150 episodes.
Oh boy!
Nice. This year, 150, and it'll be our 3-year anniversary in June. So
nice.
Yeah,
congrats.
That's a thing.
I don't even know when we're hitting 50 episodes of this. I think we're barely just past 20 at this point. Hey, it's a slow grower. We're more about mini-series that people can pick up whenever they want than being, overly, being
He's a
too
grower,
current.
not a shower.
Exactly. Speaking of which, I've been James. You can follow me on Twitter at Hotcider, HOTCYDER, same on YouTube. If you would like to support the podcast, you can also do so over on Patreon at Hotcider as well. But until next time, folks, what's a funny variation we can do on keep blasting for this gross ass game?
Keep jacking.
Keep stabbing.
Keep jabbing. I don't know. Now I'm just thinking of the fucking cum machine that you were talking about earlier on. And now.
Oh, keep cranking.
Oh, keep cranking. There we go. Keep cranking, everybody. This podcast has been made possible by Dylan Robinson, Eric Hamilton Schneider, Jesse Garasha, Kevin from Pixellet, Mouse, Twyla27, Valerie B, VG, and the Hot Cider support tier. If you'd like to help with the production of episodes and gain access to extra content, consider supporting over at patreon.com/Hot Cider. That's HOTCYDER. A special thanks to Max Coburn for the Bullet Time theme tune.